Hello, and welcome to Token Minority Report on Unsafe Space. I am your minority, Beverly J. Clark. And today is Thursday, June 16th, 2022. And right before we got on, I told Alex that I'm like, hey, I'm ready whenever you are. And she said, she's ready. So I was going to start the stream. And when it took us off the screen, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like, what buttons am I supposed to push? Anyway, speaking of which, let me bring on my plucky co-host, Alex Maselli.
Plucky? I swear you're trying to come up with a new adjective every week.
That is the goal. That's the goal. I'm gonna mute myself when I'm not talking because I hear the geese yelling right now. Okay. It's always crazy here on the farm. But how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I don't know. I'm behind on video editing for my channel, entirely. And one of the reasons why is because the old potato is just getting slower and slower. And that's what I would normally edit videos on. And I'm like, well, I have to move whole hog to the new computer. And I'm annoyed by that because it's a big, long process. I had to move more than 400 gigabytes of data. I was like, this is exhausting.
Yes. And for those who don't know, the old potato is your fond name of your very old computer.
Yes, very, very old computer. Well, I mean, it's from 2018.
That's so old. But no, actually, mine? I forget how old mine is. No, mine's 2018 too, I think.
In the realm of video games, though, that
yeah, right.
And especially with just a 1050 Ti, it's not a very good computer. So it's like, yeah.
Editing stuff. I have no idea how behind I am on editing things for Unsafe Space. I think I've got a lot of stuff that I should be, not even just editing, but just other things that I'm like, I'll get to that. But yeah, but then like I said, it's always crazy here. Because right beforehand, got a new addition to the farm unexpectedly. We were
not the bat, is it?
No, that bat is hopefully has flown off and back to its family. But no, their boyfriend's coworker that lived in in a city. We don't have cities there; they're small. It's a big town, maybe. And got in trouble though, so he had to get rid of his turkeys and chickens, and then another coworker took them, but then he had a goose. So we're like, yeah, maybe we'll take it. And so we decided today, through text, yeah, we'll take it. Didn't realize it was going to be coming here tonight. So we just got it an hour ago. Trying to figure out. And
that's hilarious.
So then we got all the geese and having to see they shouldn't be too close because we don't know is it healthy enough, and it looks like it might be a little malnourished at the very least. And then we have the ducks too. So I'm like, I've got special needs ducks. I've got geese who are just either protective or aggressive, and now boyfriend's family is here too. Though I'm like, I'm about to do a show. I can't right now. So it's you might hear sounds outside, and it's also very hot in here. Like I said before too, it's just always hot, so the windows are open, and you might be hearing people and animals. I apologize. But so that's me. I'm glad you're doing well. You got an old potato.
All right. So we've asked chat, and we're still there. You can still vote on it. What is a woman?
What is a woman? Yeah. I got distracted. YouTube just started playing, and I was hearing our own voices, and that confused me. I got scared. Yes. What is a woman? And that's the first thing that I want to talk about tonight. That's on topic. I just finished watching the documentary because Motown would not stop bothering me about it. He's not even here.
I saw he's in chat a little bit.
Was he? Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I ignore him.
Well, he was in chat at 5 o'clock this morning.
Oh. Yeah, he says Thursdays are hard for him, and I don't buy it. He's a bad supporter. He's the one who gives thoughts, right? He pays in thoughts.
Yeah, he pays in thoughts. You be quiet, girl.
Well, it's all right. This is just the animal channel, animal show.
Yeah.
So I watched the documentary, really liked it. I actually hadn't heard much of Matt Walsh before, outside of like the interview that on Dr. Phil. So that was like the little that I'd actually heard of him, that he seemed like, oh, he's like serious and really intellectual, I thought. But then in the documentary, like you mentioned that he was funny in there. I'm like, oh, okay, let me see. I'm like, man, he's so deadpan and it's hilarious. Like and I wanted to ask you too, is this called irony? Is he ironic because he like the way he delivers things, he doesn't mean them, and he's deadpan? Because I was like, I'm learning. Alex taught me stuff.
Yeah. That's considered irony by like really old definitions. No one fucking pays attention to these things anymore. But yeah, that's irony. And that's that's the kind of humor that I grew up with, whereas people being deadpan, like completely deadpan and saying the most absurd things ever.
I love it. Yeah.
So to me, I was dying. Like that part in the Women's March where there's if you're not here for women, and he's like, what is that? Like, like he doesn't laugh afterwards. He just says, what is that?
People who commit to that, like, I don't remember, I mentioned this before to you, and but like my one coworker when I worked at the newspaper, like he was so good at that, like just whatever he'd say, not always even like deadpan, but just like say it so sincerely though, and it would just be hilarious because like I don't know, just every time he spoke, like I don't think he said anything serious, but he always said it as if he was being serious, and he was awesome. But yeah, so overall I enjoyed it. And even the you described to us before and off air about how like you might not think of it as like you might not learn as much stuff if you're already like deeply involved in like, oh, I know what's going on as far as the whole transgender and everything goes. But like for normies, I do think it was really good to see what was going on. But even for me, there were some like just specific things or like emotional parts that I was like, wow.
Yeah, I had never heard of Scott before that.
Yes, yeah.
And I knew about The End of Gender and that author, but Miriam Grossman, and then in the info that she went over about John Money and Kinsey, that was stuff like I'd heard of Kinsey before, but like the stuff she went over into their research and what they've done, I'd never heard those things before. And that, so to me, that was new information. Most of the other stuff, like it wasn't new information. It was just him,
right.
Like showing stuff that a lot of normies wouldn't have known before. So to me, I felt like this was mostly just a really good introduction to what's going on with gender ideology and how it's actually affecting children, especially. But it was funny, and there were times when it was really like disturbing or sad too.
Yeah, and with Scott, when he got emotional, like I was tearing up. That I'm like, man, like I don't know. Yeah, I know about the types of thing. I don't know all of the detail. I'm not a biologist. I don't know everything, but just hearing like just the emotional and their perspective of it, though, like that kind of thing always gets to me.
He was really amazing. Scott was, and how, and then that redheaded woman, I don't remember what her name was, but she was going on over like affirmation, and she mentioned the kid who was
she the one that was like in Scrubs?
Maybe she was like a dark like purplish red color.
Okay, yeah.
But she was going over the idea that there's a student going to school that is pretending they're a cat so that they meow instead of answering questions and stuff.
I remember that video.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my god, that's so weird. Come on. And like, I don't know. A lot of the gender ideology stuff feels like really illiterate about developmental psychology and the fact that kids fantasize about being like everything. So like the idea that like a 4-year-old is not going to want to 2 weeks later be something else is ridiculous.
Yeah.
To me, like, because that seems like a normal thing. And then like when you're looking at older people, like I've heard this before, but like stuff like, oh, if you as a woman, if you hate, if as a girl, especially like if you're a teenage girl, if you hate your period or your changing body, then you must be trans. And it's like, not
who likes having a period? It is not an enjoyable time for anyone.
No, even the people in your house.
Yeah. No one is happy during this time.
I don't know. It's like, it's not a like a Western thing to celebrate your period, you know, like well, we don't do it. And I'm not saying we should either. Like, I consider it like an inconvenience at the very least. It's, you know, like, oh, I guess I'm not going swimming today, you know, like, but like they act like you have to love every part of your body or you're automatically dysphoric. And the problem with that is that, like, I gotta say that most teenagers are really self-conscious about their bodies.
That's what was really yeah, it's so upsetting to me just generally to hear that, like, that they know what they want, what's best for them, anything. Cause like I remember being a teenager and it sucked. It was terrible. Like, I'm self-conscious, insecure. I hated everything about myself and still getting over a lot of those things anyway. Like, what was the other part too, where like the talk about like woman is something about being feminine and all these, and like someone even used the word delicate, and I was like, geez, is that what a woman is supposed to be though? Because like, I don't know if I fit into that.
Oh my God, I can't believe how like I was like legit mad at that point, because I was like, do not, like, you, like, the stereotypes, they were pulling up the old stereotypes to define what a woman was. And I was like, just 10 years ago, if you went into like a women's studies course, someone said that gender stereotypes are what defined a woman, you would be screamed out of the classroom. Like, but it's totally flipped. And I think it's ridiculous. It's like, and these are the same people. That's the thing that's so crazy about it, is that it ends up being a lot of the same people that like 10 years ago would have screamed someone out of the classroom.
They don't actually have the value. Like, they're just like, whatever's the trendy thing now. So they don't really care about what they're saying, because that's how, because I think they like separate what they're saying from like actual thought, because that's how they can't answer questions. Like, they can't even explain what a woman is. And like, that's okay with me. Like, I don't need to know anything though. But it was just really upset. I mean, like the delicate, not upsetting, but like, man, this is awkward. Man, this is awkward for me though, because I'm like, I've never been dainty, and that's something that I've been insecure about my whole life. I'm 5'7", broad-shouldered, flat-chested, and my boyfriend constantly tells me I'm built like a football linebacker. So
I'm like, oh no, what's gonna come?
Yeah, what is it that he's gonna be saying?
Yeah. But like, yeah, like I and then at the same time there's a lot of like feminists who define, and a lot of traditionalists who try to define womanhood through motherhood, and it's like the capability, like the idea that your body is built to have babies. That's a biological thing, but that you should, like, or that you're maternal or necessarily nurturing, like, naturally, or all those things. I feel like we start to get into like some dangerous territory when we could just say that a woman is someone who is biologically female.
Spoilers. We didn't even answer that until the end. So, I mean, for those who haven't seen the documentary, they go through like the entire thing, and no one, like, at least the ones that they're showing in the interviews, is able to define the term woman. And I was trying to think too of like, how do I define, like, if I'm trying to think about what being a woman is, and so before I finished watching it, so I was just like, would I want to go into like the social construct aspect of it, or like at the characteristics of like the womanliness, and then ultimately they have the answer at the very end, and which is what I had also thought about too, because I was just like, adult human female, that seems like the easiest, most basic way of defining it, and no one could actually say that as far as like the the woke people go.
Good God, the 4 woke interviews were insane.
Those were upsetting because they're like professional, they're doctors or psychologists, like they're people, like they're respected
there was a
professions.
therapist. Yeah, there was a therapist, there was a pediatrician, there was a sociology professor, and the 4th one, I don't know that we ever heard what that person's job was.
Well, yeah. What was the woman who did the vaginoplasty? Which one?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. The 5th one, the gynecologist. Yeah.
So I thought it was funny, like the based people, like there were a few based ones, and then the psychiatrist who was based. I liked her a lot.
Miriam Grossman, yeah.
Yes, and then hopefully you know names because I didn't remember anyone's names.
I looked her up. If you look her up, you'll find she has a website dedicated to fighting gender ideology and its effects on children.
Yeah, she was so knowledgeable on it.
She was really, really smart, really lot of really interesting information, especially about the history of like some of the science behind this.
I didn't know all the people though. I remember the last name Money, and I remember Kinsey. I remember those 2 names.
It was Money and Kinsey. Money is the one that forced a twin to a
when
male
he was
twin.
accidentally
a circumcision went wrong, and I'm anti-circumcision, by the way, but not because I don't think men shouldn't do it, but I don't think that anyone has the right to do that to a child with that. Like, obviously the baby can't consent. Just wait until they're older. I don't care. Like, if you do wait until they're older and they do consent to it, I don't care. But a baby. But anyway, what happened is that the circumcision went wrong, which this does happen still to this day. Circumcision procedures can go wrong, and the baby,
it's terrifying.
I know, he lost his penis. So then they just, we're gonna raise him as a girl, and he was miserable. Like his whole life.
Which, side note, the penis thing did remind me of The Boys, of that marketing guy in the show The Boys, who also lost his penis, but in a different way.
Right? Yeah, he was mid-coitus when he lost his penis.
Yeah, which is worse, I think. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, he had several years with his penis before
That's
he lost
fair.
it.
But then, so he knows what he lost. At least maybe someone else. But I guess
I don't know.
we know that
he lost. He knew he was missing something. He just didn't know what it was.
Well, at least like in that psychologically, like being forced to be something. Like, I wonder if it's the penis itself that caused, or like if someone did grow up, but grew up as a boy, that like still able, not being forced to try and be this other gender, if that would have made it better for him though. Like, obviously it'd still be missing out in different aspects, but maybe it wouldn't have hurt him as much psychologically.
I don't think it would have hurt him as much psychologically, because some of the complaints that they had was that he wanted to do sports and stuff, and he couldn't because he was a girl, and like, he never felt like he fit in. He felt awkward over like sexuality and stuff like that, which he already would have, but he couldn't even express the fact that, I'm mentally interested in girls but can't do anything about it. That's not what he was, which would be understandable. You could get therapy for that. You can try to work through that. But knowing that, not even knowing why you feel this way about everything in your life, that's got to be worse in my mind. Like, it's got to be worse.
Yeah, it was like externally induced gender dysphoria, because like if he thought that he was supposed to be a girl his whole life, and like that he was in the wrong body because he didn't know.
Yeah, it was terrible. Well, and they also did that to a lot of intersex babies throughout.
Yeah, where they just they decide for them, and then like,
and they almost always decide they're going to be girls.
Yeah. Oh, is that true?
Yeah, that's what it used to be, like, that they used to decide that they were going to be girls. If they were born with a testy, they would remove it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess because so it'd be, you'd have the vagina and a testicle. Is that usually how?
Yeah, it could happen that way. And one couple, they said that they were going to raise their child as a boy because he did have a testy, and then the doctor wanted them to raise it as a girl and removed the boy's testy without their permission.
What?
They still raised the child as a boy, and they sued the doctor because he did something without their consent.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that was the child's one way of getting testosterone. That was pretty awful, honestly. Like, and then there's a lot of shit like that has been going on for decades in the medical community when it comes to, you know, accidents and intersex patients, especially babies. Like, and I already knew about some of it before this video. I didn't know about John Money and the twins. That was not a case I'd heard about because it was not an intersex case.
Right.
But like, there was a lot of like abuses of intersex patients throughout decades of history in our country specifically. What's
crazy to me too is how like even after all that, then people are like, we're going to continue to use this information, and they use it for all the woke things of it. They're like, oh yeah, like we're pushing for this, and when you look back at it, you're like, why? When the studies were false and terrible and all that.
Oh yeah, the Kinsey studies were so
yeah. Well, that was one of the prison studies, right?
Prison studies, and also figuring out how long it takes a male infant to orgasm.
Like, yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
Like, God, no. Can we, like, I mean, it's sort of like a sexual mangala. Like, we should not have been doing this. Like, you should not have been doing this to children. What were you thinking? And to me, it's like, I understand wanting to do sexual research. Like, I get it. You know, I don't think it's a field that should be untouched, but I do think that it's kind of like wrong to do so with children.
I think there's some information that we just won't know based on like certain moral reasons. Though. Like, so it's just like, yeah, because of that, like, you know, this information should remain a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, the information about children and their sexuality should probably remain in this gray, we won't know area, because to find out, we'd have to abuse them. So it's like, no,
because they can't consent. Baby can't do anything.
Exactly. They can't consent.
Before we continue further, I do want to just say hello to chat, because I see G-Man. He specifically said hello and said Beverly is always testy. Hi, G-Man. Let me scroll up. Hi, Awesome One. Hi, JB. Hi, William Brown. Hi, is it Anonymous? Anonymous? I don't know if that's a word that I don't know or that's a name. Hi, No Fun, No Hope. Raphael Madrigal. Valuable Sandwich. Thank you. It is a cool guitar. I don't know Chick Corea Electric Band tunes. I'm sorry. Hi, Aurora Deer. Tree Surgeon. Who else? Eugene Seidel. Man, it's fun trying to pronounce names that I have no idea what. So I might be butchering everything. O2H02. Is that everyone? I think that's everyone. Oh, Johnny Boy Quick Draw. Hey, you're late. I was just talking about you recently about how, like, you know, he's always here in the show, and I appreciate, like, he's there from like beginning to end, and he wasn't even here for the beginning. So I'm very upset, Johnny Boy. But hello, thank you for visiting us. But yeah, what was I going to say on the Kinsey? Yeah, so he was trying to say that when you're talking about like sexuality, about who people are attracted to, but he went to prisons to do it, and I forget what it was that he was trying to look at. It was the sexual. I don't remember now. Do you?
No, I don't remember exactly. I watched it longer away than you did.
And that's why I have to watch things multiple times, because I'm lucky I retained any information at all.
But yeah, he was looking at prisoners, and there was a lot about his research that was just not. And here's the thing too, is that like I've looked into the methodologies of a lot of famous research because I was kind of always interested in, like, we have these suppositions that are long held in a lot of scientific fields that we may or may not have been proven well that a lot of people take for granted. Like, for example, Jane Goodall's research into chimpanzees is actually really bad. Her methodology was extremely flawed.
Really? I don't know. I've never researched into her at all. So
like one of the and like Kinsey's research his methodologies were terrible.
Well, what was I don't remember names, so I'm just going to call her the Asian woman in the documentary, where she was talking about how like they want you to already have an idea, like the answer to whatever hypothesis that you're going to have for your studies, and so then she's like, well, that's not how you do science. Like, you don't want to already have your conclusion.
Her name is Deborah So. But there's too much of that kind of thing going on in science, especially lately. But like the thing is though, is that as methodologies got better, theses and hypotheses got worse over time. So now like a lot of hypothesis is based on ideology instead of actually trying to prove something. And it was kind of funny too, because like the American Dental Association had to like announce at one point in the last, like, I want to say 12 years or so, that they actually had no research to back up the idea that flossing improves your dental health, because no one had actually researched it. Now, we can know from, if you take data from dentists and you have patients that self-report that they floss every day versus patients that self-report that they don't, that flossing is actually of a benefit. But there was no actual clinical data to back up the claim. And a lot of that goes on. Like, we have like one of the best ones is that salt is bad for you. And I love that one because you know how they always tell you like after a workout you need to get your electrolytes up.
Oh yeah.
Salt is an electrolyte.
Yeah,
because it's a mineral, and that's what an electrolyte is. And the thing is, though, is that the old method before Gatorade exists was to take a salt tab and dissolve it in water and drink that after your workout. Okay. But then they were like, oh, no, wait, salt's bad for your heart. And it's kind of a supposition. They have never decided how much salt is actually bad for your heart, which I'm not going to argue the point that maybe it is, but we don't know how much.
I never know anything. I mean, because there's that with salt. I just stopped believing like everything which isn't to say that like, you know, I'm just like cautious and think like everything in moderation, because like I hear both sides. Like eggs are really great for you. Eggs are terrible for you. Like, you should only ever eat the egg whites and never the egg yolks. Egg yolks have like nutritional value, that blah blah blah, and you should only eat one a day. You can eat 7 a day. Like,
they did the same thing with potatoes. They said, potatoes are bad for you. Potatoes are good for you, but not the skin. No, wait, the skin has a lot of nutritional value. Like, there's a lot you can't trust there. Now, the problem with the salt thing and the electrolyte thing is that they replaced the electrolyte method, the electrolyte replenishment method, with like stuff like Gatorade and Powerade, which has high fructose corn syrup in it. So you're actually getting a lot of sugar you wouldn't have gotten if you had just put a salt tab in water. And so that's like kind of a problem there. Like, and so there's a lot of that kind of stuff been going on, especially in the US. And it's really hard to look at anything pre like 1970, even 1980 back science wise, and see methodology that is actually worth looking at, honestly. And then after that, it's a lot harder to find science that is without ideology. There's like a split there. So we're the John Money and Kinsey's bad methodology and ideology, honestly. But then John Money is definitely ideology based, and it's very hard to like trust a lot of the research, so-called research that comes out these days, because
it's hard to try. I mean, like when they say research too, you never know what's all gone on. They used to say, you know, back in 50s, I don't know what point it changed. I guess by 70s, from what I remember from the Brady Bunch, that cigarettes were great for you. So like everyone should have that. And then eventually they were like, no. And then even looking at anything like food, anything that you're putting into your body though, because it's just like the food pyramid. We learned that growing up. The bottom one is carbs, like put in all of the wheat and everything.
Carbs.
And then now they're like, carbs are, you don't want those. But then now it's like, you should have some. So again, I think the food pyramid, when I learned that, was bad. That was when I was like, well, I can't trust anything then. Like, why should I believe? Like, what's the new thing? Now it's like the plate or whatever. And but it's or they had an upside down pyramid. Now it's like this weird plate thing. And but it's just like it's whatever's current and whatever they're saying, like, and it's going to constantly change because then no one ever knows anything. So
I did research into why we have a 2,000 calorie diet recommended.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's wrong. It was from the government. Obviously, it was from the federal government. But like scientists said that women needed on average 22 to 2,400 calories, and men needed 2,400 to 2,600 calories. And the government said, "Oh, they're too stupid. They're not going to get that. We're going to lower it down to 2,000." And it was like, that's your reasoning for giving everyone bad data for decades? It's like, well, they're going to be dumb if you treat them dumb, obviously. And so to me, I'm sort of like, yeah, you should probably have, depending, especially on your height, a higher amount of calories. I honestly had like a common sense moment where I was like, there's no way that everyone in the world is supposed to eat 2,000 calories.
Yeah, the same amount. Like, no. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, like an average, maybe based on it. Do you think that the metabolic rates, because I've done calculators and stuff on that too to try and figure out, do you think those are more accurate when they've, because those are kind of, they have to guess too, because everyone's bodies are different. But do you think when you calculate those, that those might be more accurate? Because like mine, because they do like just the basal metabolic rate when you're not, if you lie in bed and never move at all. I forget what mine is, maybe at like 1,600 or something. No, I think it's getting lower because I've been losing weight, but which has been disappointing because I'm like, well, now I can't eat as much. But so it might be down to like 1,500 or something. So then, but then you factor in that, like, oh, you might be doing some sort of activity throughout the day.
Well, I mean, the basics of weight loss, like, I mean, you do have to be very specific when it comes to what your body is doing on a regular basis to know how many calories you should be consuming. And if you adjust your activity level, you have to adjust your calorie input. Like, this is not like a crazy idea. Like, to me, it seems like common sense.
Yeah, you have the calories in, calories out, like then exercise, that's going to help more too. So that's pretty much, so we're trying to estimate, like, okay, I think this is how much.
I don't know the science behind that one. That one I've not researched. I've never gone to get a test. Like, before I get a test, I do always like try to research it to see like how it works, because which kind of, I think, drives some doctors insane, that they're like, wait, you're not just gonna trust me that this is what and I'm like, why would I? Like, I don't know, maybe because I got a bunch of tests when I was younger, when I was first an adult, and I felt like a lot of them were like, the doctors didn't really know what they were doing. They were just going through a checklist of things they wanted to do for this condition, this perceived condition. We need to do these things. Yeah. So instead, now as I've gotten older, I become more proactive, and I really want to just research it.
Yeah.
Now, No Fun, No Hope says eat when you're hungry. That is actually, and if you are not hungry, do not eat. That's actually what I called the Elizabeth First method, because Elizabeth First, that's what she did. She didn't have set times to eat. She literally just ate when she was hungry. Until. Yeah,
and then you have to be. What I've read too, like sometimes, like you want to stay hydrated, because sometimes you might think you're hungry, but like, oh, you just need to hydrate, and then that helps as well. So there are different things too of just understanding your body's needs, which I never know anything. I mentioned this before too. I can't remember if it was on or off air, but just like sometime when I have when I don't know what's going on, or I'm sick, or so, something's happening, I'm like, I'm dying. I think I'm dying right now. just terrified and panicking, and then that just exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. Well, I see, that's my thought though, is that if they are so wrong about so many things when it comes to just how we're supposed to consume food, I cannot help but think that anything more complicated than that, and they are going to fuck it up. Like,
yeah.
And that includes transition. Like, I'm like, I'm just gonna assume you're wrong from the outstart, and then work back from there, because I already know that you've gotten, like, I expect science to be more wrong than it is right. Not because I'm jaded, but because that's how it works.
You're testing things out. Science is ever changing, and that's the thing with the coof too. That was really problematic to me, where especially right at the beginning, where people were had friends about like, well, this is what's going to happen. This is how it is, and I kept thinking, like, how do you know that? Like, there hasn't been time to like see the effects of it, though. Like, and that they, like the science is settled, quote unquote. That like why. That is just the most retarded thing to say ever, because like it never is, though. And you can just look back and see all the different things, like as far as what foods and stuff you can eat and whatever is healthy. Everyone's wrong constantly, and no one can agree on anything. And people live and people die doing all of the above. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, when people can be so 100% certain on things like that. That's why I always love like simple math, because which they're trying to ruin too, because it's just like 2 + 2 = 4, and I love that because it's black and white. You can't question it, but they are trying. But
yeah, whenever they do question it, and whenever someone brings up Kareem, I cannot help but myself. But I send the gif of Picard in The Next Generation screaming at that Romulan, "There are 4 lights!" like every single time, because to me it feels like the same thing. It feels like the exact same thing, because it is kind of a reference to 1984. But to me, I'm like, that's like, there's no GIF that I would use from 1984, the movie, to do that. But for the purposes of using Star Trek, that scene is so dark, like, because he is torturing him, and it feels like an emotional, mental torture, the way that they are trying to make us agree to these like really convoluted ideas, like undefining a woman, like like 2 + 2 = 5. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a thread of tweets where some woman asked her liberal boyfriend what a woman is, asked him to define it, and he sent her like so many like long texts that were so annoying, and so many of them, like at the beginning he was all like, it has to account for 100% of the things that are a woman and 0% of the things that aren't. That's what the definition has to do. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Definitions do not work that way. They are not that concrete. No definition is exact concrete every time. Language would not work if we had to do that. And then also, it's the thing my friend Caleb brings up all the time, that it's the 3-legged cat problem, that they're like, there's this exception where there's a cat with only 3 legs, so is that still really a cat? And it's like, yes. My example is always that if my spleen doesn't work anymore, or never did work, if I was born that way and my spleen didn't work, it doesn't change the fact that it is a spleen. Pathology does not change the inherent supposed function of an organ, and that's, or item of non-organic.
What is it where they like the idea where if every piece of your body, I guess we'll say minus your brain, were replaced with something with a different, someone else's, or like whatever, are you still the same person? Or and then you can use that for like a cat too, like if it's just the cat brain and like another cat body.
That's the ship of thesis thought experiment. There's a ship of thesis
Right.
in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
museum, and they replace every piece of it. Is
Yeah.
it's
I
the
remember.
ship
Okay.
of
Yeah. That's what I
thesis.
was
Yeah,
trying to.
they actually brought it up in WandaVision, which I'd already heard of it, and I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh
Yeah. I
hey,
forgot.
it's a very interesting thought experiment. And the thing is though, is that it's like, what part of you is you? Well, and the thing is though, is that saying that your body is you, or saying that each individual, like, it's really hard to answer that question without falling into kind of like the weird issues. And it's like, it's not actually an important question to me. Like, I don't find it to be an important question. I feel like it's kind of almost I can never say that word. It's like shrouding the point of
Obfuscating. That is a hard word to
yes.
say.
Yes.
Because I was like, I'm about to say it, but I'm scared now too.
Yeah. It's like shrouding the issue of, like, this is a woman, like, and I'll admit that, like, I've seen some trans women that I just thought they were women. Like, honestly,
Really?
until they told me, I thought they were women. Like, and I was, but that's not the reality. You can be fooled by something and it not be real. Like, like, there's this video of a cat sitting on a roof, but it looks like a dog poking its head through the roof, and then it turns and it's a cat. You were tricked. You thought it was a dog, but it wasn't a dog. It was a cat.
And that's what in the film too, where they have like they talk about like your reality, like this is your truth, and but then Matt Walsh is very particular. But like I want this. We just have this reality. I want the truth, and people were so like I was not surprised, but really upset by like how many people were just like saying things like you're using the word truth is condescending and harmful, I think is an actual quote by the one college professor or whatever. Yeah. And side note too, I think sorry, the people in chat were saying that it's Cardassian. I've never actually seen instead of Romulus.
You're right. You're right. He is a Cardassian. Thank you for calling me on that.
I saw a couple, and I'm like, I don't know why they're saying this. And then when I saw Romulan, I'm like, oh, because I'm like, I know the meme and I know like the concept, but I've never watched it.
Is that the latest time that I tweeted there are 4 lights, and a like parody joke account retweeted it saying there's actually 5, see, with 4 light bulbs. And the name of the account was that character, that Cardassian character who's torturing him, and the profile pic was his picture. And I was like, see, this is why we don't want Elon Musk to force everyone to use their real photo and their real name, because we don't have hilarious accounts like that. And I want accounts like that to keep existing, because that made my day. The fact that someone did that, like, he literally like waits for someone to tweet that image, and I mean, that's just hilarious.
Right. Oh, no fun, no hope. Thank you for the callback to the correction. I got you, boo. And then he also says, watch some damn TNG, Beverly. I'm sorry. I know.
It's my favorite.
I've only watched the original though, so I guess I love William Shatner.
I really liked TNG. TNG was my favorite.
I've heard that it's good. It just never bothered. But anyway, so where were we at in the film? Just the people talk like the sociologist, and man, was he annoying. But like they all were like all of those people, like, and it's just like the way that they talk to, and then like how offended that they were about the truth and reality, and how they could not define woman, and they hated words because someone said like, you keep invoking the word truth, and that, I think that was right before he said the condescending, harmful.
Yeah, and the one that really, like, it's early in the thing, in the documentary, is when he's talking to the pediatrician, and he goes, well, 4-year-olds believe in Santa Claus, but Santa Claus isn't real. And she goes, but he is real to them. And he's like, yeah, but Santa Claus isn't real.
He's not actually real.
And she's like, no, he's real to them. Like, in their world, he's real. And it's like, that doesn't change the fact that he is not real. Like, sorry to any 4-year-olds watching this that I just ruined Christmas for 2022 for you.
Wait,
But
he's not real?
sorry, Beverly.
He's been bringing me my presents.
But yeah,
Who's that fat man that was under the tree this Christmas? Definitely saw someone.
But yeah, like the idea that like you could possibly at any like that subjective reality, that's what she was essentially arguing for in that, is one of the most horrifying concepts to ever hit our society.
So, yeah. So someone, I'm not going to name names here, but someone within like the internet community of people, I remember like when I watched her videos before, and she mentioned like talking of subjective reality, and that was one of the first things where I was like, and she's supposed to be like unwoke, but then I'm like, that's not a great thing, and I was like, and then it went very downhill after that, but.
The idea of subjective reality allows people to honestly do horrible things. I think it paves the way for really, really awful things, because if we can't agree on reality, we can't agree on morality. So if we can't agree on morality, then it's totally justified to do really terrible things and claim that they're good.
Yeah. The ends justify the means is always such a like dangerous thing to me too.
Oh, I know.
The which one was it? The vaginoplasty one, the gynecologist. She, funnily enough, reminded me of my gynecologist that I saw recently. Like just like her demeanor, the personality of like, and she kept kind of saying, you know, when Matt Walsh would ask about like, are you concerned about like the long-term effects or like how, you know, the people who have changed their minds, and but she's just not at all, like very slim, like it rarely happens, there's not like and just her face, like it was just so annoying. But so not that mine did that exactly, but it was just something similar into like where she seems knowledgeable, and then but the guy, I know I mentioned this to you before too, off camera, but about how she like was pushing for me to get the coof shot too, and I'm like, what does that have to do with checking other parts? That she went like 10 minutes long ago, and I was just like nodding like, oh, wow, and saying how Omicron's coming and it's gonna be bad. I'm like, oh, and this is after I've already heard that like it spreads a lot, but it's very, very mild. And so she's saying like how bad it's gonna be, and then later on in a follow-up phone call just to like give test results, like the nurse asked me, instead of the doctor had asked me, wanted to know whether I had ended up getting the coof shot, and I was like, no, not yet, and I'd like to cancel my follow-up appointment now, so thanks.
It was funny. I only went to like one kind of doctor who asked me that recently. It was an allergist, which I also have asthma, so a lot of people thought that I should have gotten the shot, and I never did. Because technically I was in a at risk, although I still haven't gotten it, and also like gotten the shot or gotten the illness. Right. And the thing is about that is that my reasoning in the beginning was, well, it's relatively new science. I can't yet understand it, so I'm not going to do anything about it. And my risk profile is actually incredibly low because I'd never go anywhere. So I'm relatively safe right now. But so I told the doctor, asked, you know, and it was just like, he's got his list of questions, and he asked, and I said no, and he goes, oh, have you gotten sick? And I was like, no. And he's like, really? And then he's like, you're really lucky. And I was like, no, you don't get it, man. I don't go anywhere. Like, this is the first time I've been out of my house in like 2 months. And I know that sounds really bad. I sound like such a shut-in. But, and I know some of my friends are like, please, like, we should go out. And I'm like, okay, I want to go out to dinner. No, like, I don't want to go do an errand. I want to go out to dinner. Yeah. And I liked that. But like, so to me, he didn't pressure me at all. And I was like, that's why I might come back to you.
Right, yeah, that's what my 'cause when I moved back, like I had to find like new people, and the GP that I went to for a checkup, he asked me, "It's like, have you gotten the COVID shot?" And I said no, or no, what was I think he asked the flu shot first, and yeah, I think he asked COVID first, and I said no, and he said, "Have you gotten the flu shot?" And I said no, like, is it free? And I didn't know like if I had to pay because I was paying out of pocket, but I liked that he asked the question. I said no. He moved on. Like he didn't try pushing anything. He didn't say anything else. I asked about the flu shot, whether it cost money or not. I think it did. So I didn't get. I usually never get it. I only got
I
it
never
once
did
while
the
I
flu
had health
shot either.
insurance because I don't get sick, and that's what and the other thing that I had concerns about the gynecologist too is that when I said that when my boyfriend had COVID, he got really sick, and I took care of him the entire time, and I never seemed to get it, and except I had cramps for a couple days, and then that's when like my TMI, everyone, but this is biology and anatomy stuff. But then after
For
4 years,
women.
yeah, after 4 years of not having a period, it came back right after that, and I was like, this seems kind of the timing seems strange though. And I asked like, is that possible? Because I know too that things can fluctuate, especially illnesses like
Yeah.
big illnesses like that can affect. And she
Weight
was
loss,
really
weight loss, weight gain,
anything.
illnesses, like bad fever,
Hmm.
like a genetic disorder, all these things can affect a menstrual cycle, and a gynecologist should know that.
Yeah, but so that's what she was really adamant about. Like, no, like that it would have nothing to do. And she did sound knowledgeable about like other reasons of like or what was happening, but it was so strange to me that she would just completely say like, no, like this definitely is not a thing that caused it. And like, how can you say something for certain when this is still new? And they're saying that the shot itself can affect it as well. So like, why couldn't the actual illness like potentially have something to do with it? But I also don't know if I ever got it because I tested
Yeah.
negative. But that's the thing. So I haven't. I mean, like I don't always do things, but like when I do go out, like I've barely been careful about anything. I've shared drinks and food. I don't wear a mask because most places don't need to. Yeah, I've been so much not careful during this time. But I also normally don't go out and do that much. But I
You
just
probably see more people than I do, though.
yeah,
I definitely think
but
so.
so I'd say that like I don't go out like a bunch that I'm a big social person, but like I go out like an okay amount, especially in the last couple of years. And then like I was still hugging people. I was still like I guess I could say my habits really did not change because I already barely did anything. And then when I did do stuff, I was just like still again like sharing food, hugging people, and all that. And uh yeah, and I don't remember the last time I got sick. It's been like I'll feel like maybe a cold coming on, like, oh, I'm tired and I might need to like sleep on it, and then I'm fine the next day. But like that's at most. Like I haven't had like a I'm in bed for a few days flu in years.
I did. I got the flu a couple times, I think, when I was a kid, but I used to get a lot of sinus infections and bronchitis a lot. Like that was my thing. I got those a lot. But then and then like all through high school, college, for years after when I went into the professional field, I did not catch the flu, did not get a flu shot, which everybody told me that I should because of my asthma, and I didn't. But I didn't catch the flu. And then I got it one time, and it was kind of funny. I took a day off of work, and like it was the one time I called in sick in like I don't want to say like 8 years, and and like I'd taken days off of work, but not for illness, for fun. Like I would like,
yeah.
oh, I want to have some time to myself, but never called in sick before. And my coworkers were like, this is weird, like Alex must really not feel well to not come in. And and I had a fever, and I did not sleep well, and but I didn't go in. I recovered like really quickly, and I went back to work the next day, and I was like, I'm back, I'm fine now, and like I haven't gotten the flu since then.
Yeah.
So
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just don't think that like it's like for some people it's not that big a deal, like And I remember like when they were first talking about mandates, there was this thing where they said, you get the flu shot every year. And I was like, I can't tell you the last time I got a flu shot. No one told me I couldn't come to work if I didn't get the flu shot.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's why I got the flu shot a few years ago, and that's just because it came with the health insurance that I had at the time. So I was like, yeah, free stuff, I'll take it. But outside of that, like I never bothered doing it because I just like it doesn't matter. Like I actually, in a weird way, I kind of like getting sick sometimes because it accumulates where I'm like, oh, I'm not sick throughout the couple of years. And once it actually happens, and I'm like, oh, now I'm kind of like, removing all of the toxins sort of thing that kind of, and it's an excuse to just like, well, I'm going to not be responsible for a few days. I'm doing nothing like it, even though it might suck, like, having to be in bed or whatever. But like, it's also kind of just like, okay, I can turn off for a bit from being an adult or whatever. So, but I haven't had that. So
I've been really good since probably about 2014, I want to say, about not getting sinus or bronchitis infections
good.
ever. And one of the reasons why is because when I start getting really congested, I take preventative, like the stuff I would take if I was on sinus, if I did have an infection, like Sudafed or Mucinex, I take when I'm really congested and I don't get sick. And the last time I had a sinus infection, I was bleeding. Like it was bad. Yeah. That was the worst one. And I was like, I don't ever want to get a sinus infection again. This is ridiculous. And so like now I'm more preventative with how I handle like congestion, like, cause I do have allergies. So I'm going to get congested real bad often. Mm-hmm. So like, I have to have a thing of Sudafed on hand at all times.
I remember my roommate in college, he would get nosebleeds, right? And it was kind of disconcerting sometimes too, though, because it would just like drip down. And now after watching The Boys, now just like, is your head going to explode?
Is your head going to explode?
Just watched that episode in season 2. I think it was the first episode.
I think I watched, what was it? It was 6 Feet Under. I used to be really big into it. Like,
I want to watch that.
And I was in high school when that show came out. And like, there's this one episode where this woman is like partying, and like, she's about to go into some like event or something with her friends, and then she goes, "Oh, I don't feel so good," and then or like she starts bleeding from her nose. And she has a brain aneurysm.
I know.
And I remember and I was like, "That's a thing.
That's my biggest fear.
That can happen to you."
That is one of my biggest fears as far as like things happen, because it's just like you don't know that it can just happen. And I think I started getting terrified of that from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode when it happened to her mom and she died in season 5. I'm like, man, what a way to go. That like you don't see it coming, like, oh, and now you're bringing back these fears. I hate it's so terrible.
Well, it was kind of funny though, because like someone had when I was in grad school, someone had written a story where his family and one of the kids dies suddenly of an aneurysm, and it was such a normal day. And that was the point of the story, is that it was just so typical, and then everything changed and there was seemingly no reason. Like there was no way to change it. There was no way that they could have done anything different. The girl just died of an aneurysm. And I remember my teacher going, "Make it mean more." And I was like, I think you're writing a different story for this student. Like, yeah. I'm a student too. And I'm like, no. The point is how shocking
that is when you just,
when someone just keels over, which is the thing that happens. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what you want.
No warning sign.
Yeah.
That's
that was like one of my problems though with being in a creative writing program, is that so often the teachers didn't want to teach you how to be a better writer and write what you wanted to write. They wanted you to be the kind of writer they were.
Yeah. I remember I had a writing class, and the instructor he said something about how like it was just like a really short story or something, and like but the dialogue didn't seem realistic. But it was kind of like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, but that's like what people say. Like that's what I say. Like I don't, to me, it was just that like I'm still kind of confused by it though, because like a lot of times I even write in like in dialogue. But yes, I don't know. Just kind of like, who are you? And especially depending on the characters too, because someone might be like, oh, this character, he's way more analytical. He's going to like, he doesn't even speak in contractions or whatever. Like that's just, so, you know, maybe or a sort of Asperger-y, and someone else like right. And I only write in with her. She says like wanna and gonna, and like, so she never says want to. And but like I'm particular in that story of just like, oh, every time she says it and other characters don't say it because like this is like how their speech.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just writing it to spite that college instructor, or but it's just kind of like how I picture it in my head though. Like,
Well,
yeah,
see,
like they
here's
have
the thing,
different
though, is
speech
that
patterns.
everyone does have a different speech pattern. Some people mirror, depending, like some people have mirroring tendencies. If they're with someone, they'll mirror more how that person speaks. That's true. That's not that common though. But and then like I mean like extreme noticeable mirroring. It's not that common. To some extent, everybody does it a little bit. But the thing is though, is that like I find it really annoying that your teachers are like pushing you like that, like to do what it like, and especially considering I've complained about this before, but too many literary authors, their voices all sound the same. Like not to each other, but like their characters all sound the same and their novels all sound the same. Like everything is so samey. So
yeah, and I think that's the thing that I'm trying with writing now, and maybe that helps with like D&D and improv when you're like having to play like here are these different characters, like yeah, especially as a dungeon master, they're like I'm having to play a bunch of different characters, and I know a lot of the female characters I play, they're like, oh, they sound a little too similar, like they all kind of, because it's just like when there's so many, it's hard to like have a different. But then a lot of the guys though, I might have like the southern, I always have to do like certain catchphrases, like get into it, and he goes, I do declare. That's how I start off with that, and it just became like they always expect it. Anytime he talks, he has to say it like as the first thing, and it became his like ringtone too in the like the magical calling that we have, and it's, but like if I didn't do it, then they all just like turn and look at me and are aghast. But so like yeah, they're for some reason like the girls just end up being more like, nope, she's just like a friendly girl here who's talking a little bit in a softer voice. And so then when those characters might be together, I'm like, oh, how do I change? I need to like change this up a little bit to like show some sort of difference. So it's just like a slight, like you're a little more sassy, you're a little more deadpan, but it's and so that can be difficult when I'm like hundreds of characters now.
Well, to me, the thing that annoys me is that the teachers and some of the people who like are in book clubs and stuff. Speaking of which, our book clubs on Sunday.
I know. Yeah, I was thinking about how I forgot to say that at the beginning of housekeeping. Book club Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern, House of Leaves. Mark Z. Danilevsky. Alex is hosting.
And I'm very excited. Please show up.
I'm worried about it because I'm like, I don't know how much spoilers you're going to give, and I'm like, how big are the twists going to be? Because I'm still not very far into it, and I want to finish, but I'm like,
I know. But like, so that's what I was saying. They would say that, oh, while it is realistic for a character to say how's it going, that's just wasted time. And I'm like, and like it's like they do say that though. Like, how do people greet each other? Like someone greeting someone with like, hey motherfucker, versus how's it going, that's a huge difference in relationship. Right. Like come on. Yeah. Like, and then like at the same time, so many of these people, they're like especially novels, they have no plot. They're like really, really long short stories, and they have no major dramatic question, and people defend it. Well, real life doesn't work that way. And I'm like, God, so you are picking and choosing when you think real life applies. And it's pissing me off because I think crafting the novel, in recognizing it as a crafted thing, is most important when you're looking at the major dramatic question and the plot and making sure that the ending has impact. Now, when it comes to the realism, that has to do with the little moments. Honestly, those bring more to the table than putting it on the opposite side. Like, to me, I'm like, this reversal is making for some really boring novels right now. So I'm like, I'd rather have a writer say, how's it going, than have them not have an ending to their novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lost my train of thought just now. I have no ending to the sentence. You keep talking for a second.
Well, everyone is complaining about our answers to the poll, but
I can answer the poll. It doesn't have XX chromosome or a uterus. Yeah, I know. That was the point of the poll, is in reference to the documentary, if you haven't seen, because they were all terrible answers, and you don't get to answer anything that like actually makes sense.
Basically, they're kind of based on the circular logic, the bad,
right, exactly.
The bad ideas. Like, at one point, the last answer that you can give is what the sociologist almost exactly turned. Why don't you tell me what your truth is?
And I don't think
he said that
he was the only one. I think there were a couple of people that asked, like, well, what do you think it means? And remember the thing I was going to say, it was just based on, like, when, especially in a fictional story, I think because of improv, this has helped me be more okay with this type of thing. What if you're in a fictional book? If you establish the world that it's in, like, then I'll accept anything, like the magic realism type of thing. Like, if you bless you.
Thank you.
If you have like the octopus is born from this human person and human woman, and or even I'll even say too, like, if a man gives birth in your fictional story, but you have this established world that this can happen, like, I will accept, like, and that's okay with me if you can set up the world to mean that. Can mute.
Yeah, I agree. I'm reading, and I'm doing it for Unsafe Space. I'm reading The Men right now, and God, it's taken me back 2 years to when I was going to those book clubs that were all super woke, and I'm like, I want to blow my brains out. I'm like, 2 times speed, get through this now.
Gosh, yeah, right. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking one for the team. All right. What else in chat? I've been ignoring them for a bit now. We've got Captain Z didn't like the no uterus. She's searching. I've been having a hell of a time getting through that book. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about House of Leaves. I enjoy it, but I am slow at it too, reading those footnotes and everything. So, and I don't remember how far I got into it when I read it years ago too. But some of them, like, oh, I remember this, and so I need to hurry up and read more. But let me see, what else is there?
How far are you right now?
Not very far at all. Still pretty early on. How far? What do you think? How far should I try to reach by a Sunday to make it like, this is okay enough?
Well, everything starts really devolving around chapter 10, I would say.
Well, there are no promises. I will.
Let me see. One of the most important chapters is probably, especially if you're talking specifically about the Navidson record, is chapter 13, the Minotaur.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I will try. I don't think I'll get to 10, I don't know.
I mean, like, honestly, you could skip things like the appendices. Definitely, like.
Okay, that's in between. In there.
Yeah,
okay.
And honestly, like, I glaze over at most of the footnotes because a lot of them are not actual content, except for the ones that are by Johnny True, like the ones that are like literally.
Oh, just the like citations.
Just like a citation. I don't even really look at those.
Okay, I glance at them. I don't like read fully, but I'll just see that Yeah, because and part of me is also worried. I'm like, is this part of like, do I need to remember some of these things? Is that gonna come back later? And
well, you got to remember that the ones that say that they reference the Navidson record don't exist.
right,
Like,
yeah. So then I'm like, but then I don't know if it's like a puzzle that's gonna come together later on.
There's no puzzle. Don't worry.
Okay, which I'm kind of disappointed by, because I was like, that'd be cool to have a book. Like, I really like that, where it's just like you have to like hear these like small pieces that like seem insignificant, but then they come together later on and they're important.
I remember the first time I read this, there was a footnote in one of the chapters that labeled J, and I looked through the entire more than 700 pages to find J, and I couldn't. And I was like first I looked through the chapter, and I looked through the chapter a few times, and then I like looked through the whole book, and I was like, I don't think it exists. I was like, I think he just trolled me.
That's awesome. All right, well, I will do my best to power through this very dense book. But so I guess back to this documentary, because we have a couple other topics, but I want to just mention too. Oh, so I thought it was funny that the woman who reminded me of the gynecologist is terrible, but the based psychiatrist woman, what was her? I forget her name again. But she reminded me. Miriam Grossman reminded me of my psychology instructor in college too, where I was just like, yeah. Even again, there's just kind of like the demeanor and just like how knowledgeable she was, and just kind of the personality. And it was just like these stark differences of like, yeah, you're very likable, and this other one, you sound like you know things, but I don't trust you.
What I love about Deborah So, the End of Gender author, is how deadpan, non-emotive that woman is. Like I watched her do an interview that was kind of like, the guy was a little silly, but he was like a conservative and stuff, and he asked some like silly questions of her, and in response she's just like, she doesn't say anything, she doesn't raise an eyebrow, there's nothing. It's like, wow, this woman should play professional poker. Like, my god, Deborah So would fucking kill at professional poker. She should go into it. Like, if her next book deal doesn't work out, like, definitely go that route.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast about a woman's professional poker thing, and about I guess it was kind of a thing about like, stereotypes of gender roles, and how she was able to like use it to like her advantage sometimes too, of like what the guys would expect of her, and so she played it. So it was kind of interesting.
Did you know Jennifer Tilly, the actress, is a professional poker player?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh wow!
She's so chatty and bubbly, like.
So you don't know whether,
But then or she really does poker. She's like,
really,
she's like a brick wall, but she still wears like incredibly cleavagey shirts.
So then to distract them, all right.
So she like leans over to grab her chips,
and they're like, "What was I betting?" But I kind of like and this happens more in like sitcoms and stuff too. I think I remember in I Love Lucy was similar, or just like, but if anyone's just like, you're chatty and stuff, and you're acting like you don't know what you're doing, and then that's how like you win though too, because you're just like, actually, I've got a bunch of the, but like if you have like a poker face is just like really bubbly and chatty, so they don't know like, or you like are reactive.
They did that on that TV show Psych.
Yes.
Sean,
okay.
There's a poker episode, and Sean plays poker, and he's very emotive and up the whole time, but he's also amazing at reading people.
Yeah, and that's the whole plot of the show. It's just like, he's not actually psychic; he's just really good at like noticing things.
Yeah, I love the one where he wants to go back to high school for an investigation, and they're like, "You don't look like you could be a student. Do you squint a lot?" And he's like, "What?" Because like it's kind of a joke on the format, because every time he notices something, he squints.
I love that show, and I still need to watch the second movie that came out like within the last year or something.
Really watched like after season 9. I don't think I watched anything else.
Season 9? I thought it ended at season 8.
I think they brought it back for one more season, but like I don't remember the numbers. But there's the last episode with Carrie Ellis.
Yes,
And
I love it.
oh my god,
I know
that
he's
episode
woke.
is
He's like,
so
he's woke. I love
funny.
him.
He is, but that episode is hilarious, and that character is hilarious. So like there's that part where like, you know, Sean's undercover and he's in his ear and like he's like, don't speak, please don't speak, please don't. It like goes from a command to begging really fast, and then he's begging and begging and begging, and his begging gets worse and worse. And of course, Sean speaks. That scene is just amazing. Like that's definitely, like, for a late episode, definitely worth watching. The episode about where they basically redo the Cloudy with a Chance of Murder was awful. And a lot of people go, you don't get the joke. And I'm like, oh, the joke that reboots are awful? No, that's a joke I get, but it's a 42-minute long joke that has run out of, you know, gas within the first few minutes. That's the problem. And I don't think they get that.
Yeah, they had the Dual Spires episode too for Twin Peaks, and I thought I love how playful. That's why Castle with Nathan Fillion reminds me of Psych too, because they do a lot of playful things in there, and they could do it like seriously too. There's in Castle they had the two characters. Castle's the Nathan Fillion, and then there's the detective woman Kate Beckett. They finally get together, and then like the two other homicide detectives, like they're interviewing someone who happened to be like, they have no idea that Beckett and Castle are off together for the weekend at this place, and they have to interview a guy to help Castle out. And he's like, yeah, he was like with this brown haired woman, and then the homicide detective is like, what'd she look like? What did she look like? So, like, he gets like really intense, like, describe her. Shouting, but he's just trying to figure out if they're actually together now or not.
Yeah,
it was just this really intense scene, like played so seriously, and it was hilarious.
That's funny. I didn't watch much of that show, unfortunately. I watched like a few episodes. I just didn't get much of a chance to watch it. Like, I can now, it's on Hulu, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
I love all detective shows, and it's a fun one. So it's yeah. Like, was that Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? That's what I was thinking. And it was Cloudy with a Chance of Murder. I was first thinking meatballs. Did we get a definition of a woman yet? We did say earlier the actual answer is a human female, adult human female. But in the film, they said, what I love too, like multiple people saying, why do you care so much, when he's trying to just like ask the truth? And it's like, it's not a big deal, because they can't answer it. They're like, it's weird to me that this is, such a big deal to you. Like, why? I don't understand why you care so much. And
the gender ideologists, usually they were so hostile to continuing the interviews, like especially the sociologist. He was like really mean about it. But then like for the pediatrician, when he brought up that Lupron is used as a chemical castrant, for pedophiles, like she's like, I think this interview is over. And it was like, oh wow, gotta keep up that I'm a pleasant woman like behavior, but Jesus, like that was telling. Even that's the question.
The congressman too, who really did, at least everyone else kind of kept talking when they were saying that they wanted to end it, but the congressman was just like, we're done here. And then they get up, and then his assistant or whatever, you guys need to leave now. And I'm like, wow, geez.
That was pretty rough.
But because they had the whole, like, it's answers where it's someone who identifies as a woman, and he's like, like circular arguments, and like, and he asks too, like, can you define the woman without using the word woman? And they could not. So it has the whole like postmodernism thing where words don't mean anything. And what was at the end, I think it was the Dr. Phil one too, where I saw that they had to take down the episode because the people they were too emotionally damaged by the conversation. Like, wow, that's pathetic.
It really is. Like, to be honest with you, like a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen in a place that is much more extreme about gender roles. Like those kind of people would probably be dead, and it's like, and they're bitching that someone didn't agree with them on TV. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the delicate nature of your psychology. Like, jeez.
I think it's an excuse to. I mean, like maybe they are so emotional that they do feel like I can also believe that, but I also think that like, oh, you're embarrassed by this because that the normal people around the country think that this is ridiculous and that you're retarded, and so then
I
they
love
want
that guy with the long hair, and he acts very effeminate, but he's got a
beard,
full beard.
yeah.
I've seen actual men with less
Mm.
full beards than that.
Yeah. That's what I don't, and that's why they can't define woman. And I think that's what makes it the whole transgenderism difficult for people with gender dysphoria because I mean, and that's what I keep forgetting her name,
Miriam Grossman.
Oh, okay. Do you have the first name? And I was so happy because I wasn't sure at first whether she was going to be based or not, though. Where I was just like, "Who are you talking to now?" Like, "Oh, you're actually meant like explaining how like this is a very small percentage of people in the world who have this issue," and I understand like, and so she's sympathetic toward it too, not just trying to say like, I don't discount that they have these problems, and I think they should be addressed like specifically though, like, and it shouldn't just be like, hey, everyone can be trans or whatever. Like, yeah. But the oh God, sorry, I lost my train of thought again. Let me see what I have for notes. I just think that it's bad for people who if you're trying to say that like that there is no distinction between man and woman because that is what people with gender dysphoria need. So that's why they need the gender stereotypes, because if they don't have those, then like what are they feeling? Like that they feel that they're supposed to be this opposite thing. And if it's just kind of like, well, and for me though, I do like the concept of like a woman can be whatever like you want. Like you don't have to be feminine. You can, because like I don't fall into that. And I that's why I dislike the they them thing, because you're just I know people who are like, oh, I'm not manly enough, so I'm stopping. Like I want to be they them because I don't. Like, well, you're just reinforcing the stereotype of what it means to be a man by saying that you're not going to be one anymore. That like if you stayed a man and you're more effeminate, then that's okay because that you encompass like, or like a man can be any of these things. But for people with gender dysphoria, they need to have starker contrast. And I don't understand anyone who, if you're going to transition, I would imagine you would want to be that extreme stereotype as much as you can. If you're a man who wants to be a woman, though, like you're going to be more girly. You've got Blair White, who's very girly and beautiful.
Honestly, she's girlier than me.
She's like, way girlier than me, though. Like I think she's a little too girly. I don't know how much in common I would have with her because like I don't really hang out with very girly people. And then Buck Angel too. Like he seems like a cool guy.
It was the thing. I showed a picture of Buck Angel to some guy I know, and he goes, "That is like that guy is manlier than me."
Yeah.
And I'm like laugh about that because it's kind of like, well, these are the success stories, but at the same time, Tranpa, as he often likes to call himself, Buck Angel and Blair White, they're not pro gender ideology. They're not like. They're not the group of people that were in this documentary that were like, yeah, kids can do this. They're very against that, like very much so. And part of it is about, and then also they recognize biological, reality. One of Buck Angel's most common arguments is that, of course, biological sex exists. That's how transition can even exist. Right. Is that transition cannot exist if biological sex does not also exist. And it's like, yeah.
You can't transition if there isn't a thing to transition to. Like if you're just kind of like, well, whatever. And so it doesn't make sense to me. Side note, JB says YouTube messing with the stream, went to check Tim, and when I tried to come back, not in history, not in feed, had to manual search channel. That's good to know. I mean, I'm not surprised if it's just the topic that we're talking about. Two, I'm not surprised if Unsafe Space just generally is being like shadow banned. So this is good evidence to kind of see that this might be happening.
Yeah, it might be a little bit the subject. I don't imagine YouTube's very pro what is a woman right
Or-
now.
yeah, right. So because everyone hates women, why wouldn't you? Well, I can't even define it, so who knows? But yeah, I'm so bothered by like these people in the respected professions who keep talking about all of this nonsense. And I was very frustrated, like just sitting there, like seething, like, my gosh, you guys are really like, and you're dealing with children and you're talking in public about these things.
Yeah, I know the pediatrician really bothered me like a
Mhm.
lot. Like I'm like, you stay away from kids. You like I don't know. If you think that I'm not supportive of the idea of circumcising male babies because they can't consent, obviously I'm not okay with putting children on puberty blockers. I'm not okay with transitioning them as children either. Like puberty blockers are not reversible. No matter how many times they say it, they are not reversible.
Right. Yeah, that was a big thing too. That it's crazy to me that all the doctors now are trying to affirm the transition so that like rather, I remember like a decade ago, like learning how it used to be like you would go for therapy for like months or even years to like try and figure out like, is this what you need? Is this right for you? Is there something else that we can do instead? Like it's pretty much a last resort for like actual medical changes to your body that they would do it. And now it's the first thing that they do. And it's so terrifying.
I know. What is a cat? Says Tenno Man. I know everyone's like, oh look, it's her.
Now we know what a cat is, that you can see it.
She's not a three-legged cat. A cat is an asshole. That's what a cat is.
Yeah, right. Also with this, I loved when JBB, Jordan Peterson, comes in too. I didn't realize he was going to be in it, but he just kind of like, I don't know, steals the show. And it's because he's the one he talks like he's always like slightly shouting when he speaks.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
but like not so aggressively, but like he's just kind of like assertive.
It's so I wish there was some clips between Deborah So and Jordan
Hell
Peterson,
yeah.
like show the two of them, because like first show Deborah So just poker face, and then show Jordan
Him,
Peterson practically shouting and those arms going everywhere.
Yeah.
I love them both. They're so amazing.
I'm sure they have more stuff to like, because there was so much in it. I think it's worthwhile watching if people haven't yet, because I just thought like, one, even if you already know all the things, like there are small bits of information, and just hearing it directly from the people, like the good ones and the terrible ones talking, just to kind of like get that more emotionally in your brain. I think the last things that I have like on small parts, I was bothered at least in the title, the intro video part of it, where it had "what is a woman," it didn't capitalize "is," which in most, like if you're going to capitalize other words within a title, though, like I've read that like verbs are supposed to always be capitalized.
Yeah,
then
they are. It depends on if you're doing so each style guide has its own rules.
Right.
APA is wrong. Like I don't care.
I've never learned that. I never liked
they say that you only capitalize the first word, like it's a sentence. And I'm like, then what distinguishes it? Like and then they do that, like they do that to other people's titles too. They decapitalize, and it's like, no. You have to match the capitalization of the original author's work.
I would hate that. Yeah. Okay.
And then like another one is MLA, which is what I'm more
that's how
expert
I know.
in, because I was an English major. So every do not capitalize articles, and most of the time don't capitalize prepositions. But capitalize the first word, the last word, adjectives, nouns, being verbs.
I think prepositions too. I think they have done ones like where it's like 5 letters or more that you might, and I at least, and it varies. I know I have my own, because I was just like, there are different style guides forever, and when I like compare different ones, I'm like, I don't like this rule, I don't like this rule, I like so Unsafe Space, we actually have our own style guide that I've made my own, because I'm like, no, I get to, like, I'm proofreading all of these like articles and things. We're gonna do what I want. So I have like
that's funny
set things for it. But and when I worked at the newspaper, we had the AP style, and I don't know if that was specific to that or our own, but like we also did only the first word in the headline is capitalized, and I don't know if you have any difference to newspaper with that or not, but like I wasn't the biggest fan, because I'd prefer like, that this is like the header of it, though, like it should be capitalized. But
we did get a super chat.
I see that. Yes. G-Man, thank you. If a child wants to live with Santa at the North Pole and help him make toys, we should affirm their decision. Why is this so complicated? You're right. So any children out there, if you need to go to the North Pole, we'll start a fundraiser to help send you up there. And again, I don't know who that fat man was under my Christmas tree if Santa doesn't exist. And then what was my last? Oh, just generally like how awkward the conversations were with like Matt Walsh and like his interviews. It reminded me of The Office, because it was just like these awkward silences, and I'm like, because The Office would make me feel like uncomfortable watching it a lot of the times, and especially the first half of the documentary, I was like, oh, this is cringy, just because it's like I feel bad for him in the situation, but he's like so like stoic and how, because like he doesn't care like what's happening to him, though. He just, I respect that. Same thing with like Ryan Long, like whenever he goes out on the street and does his like street interviews for his sketches and things, like
he's so good at that.
But I'm like, how do you, like, you just have no shame? Like, I would be uncomfortable like having to just go up to these strangers and get yelled at or whatever, though, too. And it's
there was that I can't remember her name, but she got banned from Twitter recently. She was doing interviews on the street, and like the one that I really liked, she was interviewing people at a gas station, asking them if they really felt like America was doing well, and they were like all Black people, like every single one of them, which spoke to where she was, I think, more than anything. And they were all of them going, no, it's shitty. Do you see those prices? Like, it was so funny. But she got banned from Twitter, unfortunately. So you can still see those videos on Twitter because other people have put them up, but
okay, but she's no longer.
She's gone. It's stupid, though. She shouldn't be gone.
It's annoying. Speaking of Twitter stuff, I guess, unless you have any final thoughts on this, we can try and jump in on a couple other. I know we had like other ones. I forget what I even put in the title.
We've got thumbnail. The Vengeance trailer.
Oh, the Vengeance trailer.
And the Disney Exec.
That one. Okay, but then Twitter, you wanted to talk about Ryan David Tuttle and the person. So we can talk about that first too. And then
So for those of you who watch my 451 degrees videos, I do a lot of interviews, and one of my interviews is Ryan David Tuttle, who I met through Twitter, and someone has been following his Twitter for months and taking screenshots of his tweets, and they have taken them to his university to try to like get him kicked out of his university program, and it's just insane that they're doing that, because it's no one should be afraid to lose their job or their position at a university as a student or as a professor for what they write on Twitter. And they're trying. He did say that they're like trying to tell him that he can't post things on Twitter, and it's like essentially. And it's like, you don't believe in academic freedom if you're telling people what they can and cannot post on Twitter. Like, I'm sorry, that's not appropriate. And you are probably a publicly funded university, which means you should be held to the First Amendment. You should allow your students and your professors to post what they want in social media. I like even like really horrible things, honestly, too. But no, like, and by the way, Ryan's Twitter is mostly hilarious and is not really offensive doesn't really call for any kind of violence or crimes. It's mostly just silly, funny content. But for some reason, this is enough for him to have to have a meeting. And I wanted people to know about it. I found out about it today, and I was just mad about it.
Yeah. No, that's again, all these things are frustrating, and that's why I moved to the middle of nowhere and live with a bunch of animals, because as frustrating as they are, it's in different, more fun ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of poop. A lot of poop. But I'm sorry, I feel bad for him. So I hope, is there anything that we can do as a community to help?
My suggestion is to reach out to him on Twitter if you're on Twitter, and tell him that you support him saying what he wants to say on Twitter. Honestly, like I'm like really
yeah, it's a bummer. What's his is Roro or something?
That's his handle.
Yeah, I just want to get the link out. I can't find him. Did he get banned?
I don't think so.
Tuttle.
Let me go to Twitter.
No momento. Everything's loading really slowly.
I do follow him.
Yeah, me too. But I'm not. He's not popping up for me.
It's Tuttle Ryan David is his. It's at Tuttle Ryan David is his profile.
Okay, there it is. I don't know why it wasn't showing up with just searching. Okay, let me post it in chat. URL. People can go to it.
Yeah.
Is there a Beverly chicken shop? Beverly, what? What? Am I a chicken shop, or I don't have a? No. Oh, we have eggs. We sell eggs, actually. Yeah. Okay. Vengeance. Do you think the stream would get taken down completely if we watched the trailer, or you think that just get a copyright strike and not make any money?
Probably a copyright strike. Legally, technically,
they're not.
They're not supposed to.
But I know
that they will. But yeah, we can. But I don't believe it would take down the video entirely.
Okay.
Although we do have post-editing abilities.
Right. If we have to, you can take it out.
We can take it out.
Then let's do that, because I forget everything about this trailer and I meant to watch it before we did the stream. But again, chaos ensued. So let me find. And I guess while we do that, do I have the link up? The Disney, just real quick, that one was a short thing, I think, that you had linked me to Disney's Peter Rice ousted in major executive shakeup. Do you know anything more specifically while I'm trying to pull up the article?
What I know is that he used to work for Fox.
And did he? Oh.
Yeah, he did. And that the head of Disney, who's an idiot, by the way, has told him that we don't feel like you fit into our community and environment anymore, essentially. And there are some rumors that the guy was going after the head of Disney's job. But yeah, Peter Rice has been removed. To some extent, it's probably partially because of the fact that he used to work for Fox.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bob Chapek is the CEO of Disney. I hate that guy. He's I don't know. Disney has gotten so lazy with its content over the last decade, and it just annoys me. They just do remakes and reboots and sequels, just on live action remakes, and it's just ad nauseum. It's take risks on your titles, for God's sake. They don't do it anymore. They're playing it so stupid safe. I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a big thing with no one ever does anything new.
Yeah.
And so that you just keep rebooting everything, and you're part of it's sometimes it's cool to see something that's remade, and that's not just it was made in the 80s, but now we have better technology or something to I can we've talked before that just because it's a new or that isn't, and it's not inherently bad, or it'll be different. But I guess
go ahead. I was just gonna say with Disney though, I feel like everything is written by committee. Everything is designed by
so
committee. It's like
same.
really like they're worse than probably most of the other major studios when it comes to that kind of stuff, and that's why it drives me nuts. Specifically about them.
I'll say, as far as shows go, I don't know why this ad of Only Murders in the Building is everywhere on this page, but I actually really enjoyed that show. So if you haven't seen it, like and maybe once season 2 comes out, I'll definitely want to talk about it though, because it's a fun show. Again, it's murder mystery, but then and I don't think they really have much wokeness in there at all, if I recall correctly. So yeah, you don't really have a ton of like political things there, which is nice.
Awesome One says he's going to advertise your chicken products on the next Tim Pool SWAT. And I'm like, nah, advertise my book, my novel, the next time I get swatted. I did think the quarterings thing about like putting all those huge super chats in Tim Pool's live stream was pretty hilarious.
Is that what happened? I didn't know any details about it.
Yeah, so Tim Pool got swatted again, so he leaves, but he left the live stream up. And while he
did, so that was like an empty room or something, right?
Yeah, it was an empty room, and the quartering Jeremy, he goes there and he puts in like $300 or $400 super chats wherein he advertises his coffee, his new coffee brand. And like there's this point where like Tim Pool is like describing what happened with that, and he's like, what's going on with chat? And then he goes, and he sees it and goes, Jeremy. Like it was really funny. Like between both of them, like I thought it was like a really nice, like, you know, kind of sweet and funny, but also he gave him like $300-$400 to advertise his coffee.
Well, no, Awesome One, I'd rather you just pay us money here rather than paying Tim Pool and advertising my things, because I don't
really
have that. Hi Zato, he says meow meow. And he puts, I don't want to assume anything, so there's some sort of like 4-legged animal with a tail emoji, but I don't want to assume if it's a cat or not.
Three legs in that emoji.
Oh, you're right. It's a 3-legged cat, like you were from before.
It's the 3-legged cat.
Good call, Max. Good job, Zato. Yeah, okay. So Disney's just continuing to suck, I guess, is ultimately what this news is.
Yeah, essentially.
And then we have this other topic, the Vengeance trailer, which we'll play and see whether or not we're allowed to. But again,
we could just cut the end of the stream.
I forget everything that happened in this, and we'll even see if I can play this without it ruining, because my internet's so terrible. So we'll find out. I'm going to avoid full screening because that'll probably mess everything up.
I have a story.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Then let's do this. This is the Vengeance trailer it's directed by and starring BJ Novak from The Office. Oops.
Welcome to Texas.
I have a story.
Okay.
I'm in West Texas, where this family just lost their daughter to an opiate overdose.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's not someone I was close to.
But you flew to Texas for it?
Yes. It was a girl I hooked up with a few times. Her family thought that we were more serious than I did.
I've heard so much about you.
I've heard, yeah.
Abilene just didn't die. She was murdered.
What?
And the two of us are going to avenge her death.
So as like a personal boundary, I won't avenge deaths.
But here's what I can do. I'm going to record everything that you think happened to Abilene, and we'll put it on a podcast, and we'll see where it leads.
What evidence does he have that it was a murder?
Nothing. And that's the story.
What's this podcast about?
A new American reality where people invent these conspiracies.
You got deep state, pill pushers, cartels, the law.
Because the truth is too hard to accept. My Prius exploded.
Oh my God. What if you were driving a real car with gas and stuff?
The
problem isn't that these people aren't smart. The problem is that they are.
How do you take your coffee?
In the mouth?
If you want people to open up to you, you gotta act like one of us.
Who here is a diehard fan of the University of Texas? And who here is a fan of Texas Tech?
What if she was murdered?
This just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Looks like 2 pairs of Prince cowboy boots.
Calling out an APB to find 2 men wearing cowboy boots.
What happened to her? Why do you care so much? Why do you care so little?
You're so lucky in you, Emily.
I really don't know what you saw in me. Art sees art.
Texas has a whole murder.
You can't solve something like this with a 45. It's the breakdown of society is what it is.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's very wise.
You're going to need a 12 gauge, a couple of ARs, Western automatic, and a sidearm for safety.
Exactly.
Where are you right now?
I'm in an Uber.
Whoops. Stop. I thought it was funny too that they had why do you care so much? I'm like, oh, they said that in the what is a woman thing.
Yeah,
Care
they
so
did.
much about. So okay, what are your first thoughts on that?
So, like, I have complained about the idea that people with accents from southern states are stupid or perceived as stupid, especially in Hollywood, all the time. And I feel like this is one of those things that is basically saying, no, like, they're not stupid. Why, like, and that people with different beliefs or don't necessarily go to prestigious colleges are stupid. Like, those are also non-true statements. And I feel like this is actually playing with that. And also kind of poking fun at the true crime podcast bullshit, because a lot of that, like, I know there was kind of a kerfuffle on Twitter about that today. With some woman, yeah, there was. It was kind of funny. Some woman accused people saying that true crime is exploitive of victims and their families and glorifies actual murder and murderers. As like she said that the actual criticism is because it was something women liked, and I was like, I don't know that that's true, but like but like, so to me there was a lot here, and it was funny too because I saw this on Facebook as an ad. That was the first time I saw this, and I looked at the comments, and one of the comments was, everyone from the South is dumb. Everyone in flyover country is dumb. Hollywood is great. The end. And I was like, you, like, everyone dogpiled on that. Yeah. It was funny that everyone dogpiled on that person because they're like, you did not watch this. Like, clearly you did not, because it is that thing I talked about where they're setting up a sandcastle to knock over. The sandcastle is that from the BJ Novak character, that, oh, these people are dumb, they're wrong, they can't face the truth. And then what happens is Prius explodes. Like, that's the sandcastle starting to be knocked over. And that is kind of, so to me, I was like, this is a really good example, especially with that comment, of people not noticing that a title is necessarily like moving, this setting something up and then moving you past it to show how wrong that setup is. Like his idea that these people are dumb. Like, there's a literal line from Ashton Kutcher saying the problem isn't that these people are not smart, it's that they are. Like, it's very, like, I don't know. It's a lot nicer. I think it's a lot more hate to use this word, inclusive of regions and the type of people that usually Hollywood wants to exclude. Yeah. So I appreciate that for once.
I think, I mean, yeah, I don't know what Ashton Kutcher's political affiliation really is, but like he's in the ranch, and so it just kind of, it's the Southern thing. Like, I don't know if he's on the more conservative side or not. I don't know, but
honestly, he's very big into promoting human trafficking prevention. Okay, that's one of his big topics. That's mostly what he does now, honestly.
Really? Oh,
yeah, he spends a lot of time on it. and then he was supposed to go on a date with a girl once, and then she was murdered that night. Like, he literally knocked on the door, and she was inside dead, and he didn't know it. And he had to freaking like testify at the trial.
God,
not a lot of people know that.
Wow.
I don't know why it was never really big news, but yeah, that's something that happened to Ashton Kutcher.
Jeez. Yeah, well, it's fascinating. I mean, I am into true crime stuff. But yeah, I mean, the only murders in the building is another thing about podcasting too. So they get into like, oh, let's jump on the bandwagon here, but yeah, the Southern thing, like, it reminds me of an improv scene actually back in a class that I had, because I don't remember how the suggestion came about, but whether they were kind of the scene, if the suggestion was like I think we had to do like kind of like the inverse, or like subvert the stereotypes of what you expect, and they got like some sort of like Southerners or country people. So it was like 3 girls. They were going in, and they were just like the kind of cowboy. I think they were cowboys. So like sitting by a fireplace, but then they're talking like it was a lot of like intellectual thing. Like it was like very philosophical, very heady types, and like the dialogue. But they had like the strong Southern accent. And they had like all of like the different kind of like stereotypical affects and stuff of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, the contrast of like what you expect to find, and then with this, like, that's what made it hilarious. And that was a really good scene, and it just kind of reminds me, like, Vengeance reminds me of that.
It kind of reminds me also of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh yeah,
which is you know, it's fun of the hillbillies are dumb and creepy. I mean, like, I love the scene at the beginning when he comes up to them as they're shopping and just like laughs maniacally as he's holding a pitchfork. Like, and it's just because he's socially nervous and he's never approached a woman before. It's just but then, like, from the perspective of these college kids being approached by this stranger they don't know who's holding a pitchfork, yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But like, he's got like a memory, like a steel trap, like he remembers everything, and he's like, he kills at Trivia Pursuit, like that's one of the things about that character. I love that movie. I know, like, it's a horror comedy film, and it plays on the idea that in a lot of horror, the idea is that for Americans anyway, that we're afraid of the wilderness and the people in the wilderness. Honestly, I still think that is true for a lot of Americans, and that a lot of, especially urban Americans, are very like anti people who live out in the boonies. And it's like, well, that makes you kind of like prejudiced, that you assume that they're dumb, you assume that they're dangerous.
We've had friends in Chicago come visit us out here because like, oh, it's peaceful out, but then they also kind of feel like, oh, like the woods, or you're walking down these back roads, and then you're kind of nervous about like, oh, if a person, you know, like someone might come out, you know, like, and get you or something. And we're like, no, I mean, like, if anything, like maybe be more concerned about a bear, if it might like animal. I'm not even concerned about like those either, but it's just kind of like people around here. Like, I'm not afraid of that though, and everyone has guns too, so it's kind of like most people aren't going to mess with one another, and most people are really friendly around here.
I mean, I've been in a city most of my life. I spent 8 years in a more small town for college, but I have always found that I felt less safe in the city, like just from knowing the fact that this is where all the people are and that people are like,
yeah, people are going to be the ones that are going to hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, here's the thing. I am way less concerned about getting mugged in a small town than unless it's a tourist town, because tourist towns, small or large, have high mugging rates. But like a small town that's non-tourist, I'm not worried about getting mugged. My own town that I grew up in, Phoenix, this large city, what's one of the largest cities in the country, yes, being mugged is a daily concern. Like, if I go outside, I'm like, will someone attack me? I don't know. Like, I carry mace and a knife everywhere I go, because like a lot of the places I go, they won't let me carry a gun. And which Chicago, I'm like, thanks so much. You're basically saying you can't protect yourself on the way here or the way home from here. And it's like, that's not fair. That like you shouldn't be able to do that. But like, yeah, so, and I know people have gotten mugged here. Someone I knew got mugged when I was in high school on her way home from school. So to me, I'm sort of, and that was in one of the nicer parts of the Phoenix metropolitan area. So yeah, to me, I'm sort of like, no. The urban areas are more scary than the rural areas. The rural areas, the worry is being able to take care of yourself. You know?
Yeah.
That's the concern.
I think if you're, maybe it might be different when you're like not around, like living around here, but I think community wise, like I don't hang out with, I don't hang out with a lot of people, but like the little that I've interacted with, the neighbors, the one guy down the road, like he's just an old sweet man who's always riding around on his tractor with his dog and stuff, but he like but they're, I don't know, they're, it's just kind of people are like, yeah, if you needed help, I think they'd be willing to help you out. And the thing is that I guess like in a city, you have more people around that if you like scream for help, there may be more people to hear it, whether or not they would actually come to help you. I don't know. Out here, I think people might be more willing if they thought that there was something like actually, because sometimes you just hear like, oh, like a child screaming, but you don't know if they're like playing and running like or whatever, like there's just shouting. So, but
that reminds me of this story. So you know, hunters, they fire 3 times up into the air if they get lost.
Oh, okay. I kind of know
that's a thing, like to show like other people will hear this and they'll go, oh, 3 times in a row you got lost, you need help. Okay. Well, there's all these like videos on YouTube of people reading Reddit stories, and one of them was of these urbanites who went camping, and then they're like, we heard 3 shots nearby, and we were terrified. And I'm like, oh my god, you morons! I don't even hunt, and I know this. If I went camping, which is not a thing I enjoy to do, if I heard 3 shots, I would be concerned that someone was lost. But oh gosh,
I say I never even think about. I mean, because sometimes you hear shot, and I don't know the count, but like people test stuff around here. Like, so you're like, oh yeah, we're going hunting, so like we're test shooting. So I hear gunshots a lot, but then it's different when it's just like, oh, you hear that in Chicago versus hearing it out here. Like oh. In Chicago, I'm like, I hope those are fireworks, and out here, I still hope they're fireworks. But I can't see from this where all the trees are. But it's just kind of like, yeah, if they're gunshots, it's just like people either actually hunting or testing things out. But yeah,
that's from Awesome One. 3 shots in a city means someone is dead.
Yeah, that's what like I would look. I lived in all the places that we lived were in fairly nice locations in Chicago because I lived in Old Town, which was like right across the street from Second City actually, and then we lived in Lakeview and I don't even remember what it was called now. Lincoln Square. So like those are all like fairly nice neighborhoods, and we were fortunate enough that we never had anything happen to us. My coworker at Second City got mugged at gunpoint twice in the 3 years that I worked there. I've had other people like that. People have been mugged, and like I'd look online to see what crimes and stuff. Like, oh, there was like this, mugging or gunshot or knifing, and that was just like a couple blocks away from where I live, and so it was just like, yeah, it is around here, but fortunately, like I happened to never come. And maybe that's where it's good to not be like the most girly, dainty person though, because like when I'd walk, like I'd mean mug at nighttime. I'm like,
I'm not tall. I'm only 5'3", but I wear if I go walking, I wear a motorcycle jacket, and I usually wear headphones, but not to the point where I can't hear.
To be aware.
Yeah. I'm very aware of what's going on. There was one point where I crossed a guy. We were both on the sidewalk, and this was in the afternoon, by the way. So it's not like it was early morning, which sometimes I would walk and the sun hadn't risen yet. But like, so this was the afternoon. I cross paths with him, and I see, and this is the nice thing about wearing glasses all the time, is that I have reflections for what's behind me. I see him turn around. And my immediate response was to take my hand out of my pocket and show that I had my hand directly on a pocket knife. Suddenly, he started hanging back. And I'm like, and I basically what it was is that I mean that's basically defensive display. Like I
Yeah.
showed that I was armed in some regard. Which, by the way, the size of most pocket knives are not considered a weapon by most legal standards because they're too short to be one, and they're not a fixed blade.
In Chicago, you couldn't have above a certain size
know.
either. So yeah.
Yeah, but like I knew so you say a lot of people are like, oh, people won't help in the city. So a couple years ago, I was asleep, I was in bed, and I start hearing a woman screaming. I woke up, like it woke me up, and I can hear her. She's screaming for help. I open my window and I see most of my neighbors are outside and everybody's on their phones. Me too.
And good, like, yeah.
Yeah, we all called. She was saying she couldn't move. She kept saying somebody called my brother, and like we were all on our phones trying to direct a helicopter because there's so many freaking helicopters in Phoenix for the Phoenix police. But yeah, like I was happy to see that so many people were responding, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very on that actually. Like if I see a fire, I call. You know, like if I see a mugging, if I see someone hanging outside of a car window on the freeway, I call. Like I'm like very like if I hear something that sounds like gunshots, I call.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never.
Again, it is illegal to fire a firearm within the confines of the city unless it's for self-defense.
Yeah. Right. So, that's what, and I just never know because like, especially it gets echoey because I'm like I don't know if that's fireworks or not, so I don't want to call every time that where it's just like it's happening somewhere, but I don't know where either. But I like that.
Try to figure it out.
Oh yeah, like when you're hearing the buildings, they just bounce off. People must get lost a lot in Chicago, says JP. Like, just hear so many three gunshots. So yeah, I do.
Also, one says Alex dispatch service. I do actually have the Phoenix dispatch
police
radio. You know, they're on my phone. Like if I needed to know if something was going on, I usually
that's
turn
awesome.
it on. Yeah.
I've never seen police in this area. I think we have state police then, but I've never seen them. They don't come over into these back roads.
I see them a lot on it. Like if I go outside, which I don't do much in the last 2 years, but I see them a lot because this is a high prostitution area. I think that's why they're actually here.
It's nice to see them doing stuff that really matters, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
People consenting and paying money to.
I know. I don't care about it. Like that was
if the prostitutes were getting murdered or mugged or something, then I'd care.
Yeah, really. But like I don't care about the prostitutes. I think that's why they hang out there though. And I have seen signs around saying, "Do you want to get out of the life?" And then it was like being so clandestine about what they're referring to. The life. I'm like, I don't know.
That sounds nice though. Like, why would you want to leave it? The life?
Yeah. What is the life? Is it good or is it bad? Or do you mean life in general? What are we talking about here?
And when I was in Chicago too, I used to have a pocket knife and pepper spray. It was like one in each pocket of during colder months at least. I don't remember where I kept them during summer. I don't think I care. I think I just hope for the best. They didn't have pockets.
If I go check my mail, I'm armed.
Really? Yeah. One, I forget to check the mail and only do that like once a week, and it's just up the lawn. But
you also are in not. I'm in Phoenix, and I'm not in a great part of Phoenix.
No.
You not being armed is more reasonable. Like I feel like you have to know your level of risk and protect yourself to that level of risk.
Yeah, no, and we have 7 guns in the house, and my boyfriend keeps wanting to buy more, and so because he's excited, he bought his first gun because the rest were technically mine, but so now he wants to collect, officially owning his own.
I would totally be cool with getting more guns for my house.
Yeah. I'm not. I really love the idea of having guns stuff too, but there's just money. They're expensive, so I'm like, we don't have that. So.
They
we can
are
afford.
expensive.
So keep super
Yeah.
chatting us so we can afford some
Afford-
guns to protect
Yeah, really.
ourselves. Because ammo is a lot. But
oh god, I saw some Texas police department, I can't remember what city, was all like, we're doing a gun buyback for $100 per gun. And I was like,
what?
I was like, oh my god, there's probably not a gun in existence that currently works that is worth less than $100. Like,
Yeah. The cheap. There was one on sale at his workplace, and it was like at 150. So we're like, that's cheap, and we're like wanting to get. It wasn't one that he like super wanted, but it's like, but it's cheap. The other one that he really wants, I think it's the revolver. I forget. Is like I was surprised. I expected to be around like 500 that are saving up for, but it's like 750. It's just like. Well,
yeah, I know.
maybe.
It is such a it is like to have an actual like every type of firearm that would be really like handy in various situations. It's not cheap. Like I know, I remember that like some people are saying like it tax ammo to make sure ammo is really expensive. And it's like ammo already is expensive right now, just so you know. But also, like, that shows how ignorant they are. They don't even know how expensive ammo is. But then on top of that, it was like, also, are you saying you only want rich people to be able to have firearms and ammo? Like,
yeah.
I guarantee you, they can hire bodyguards.
Yeah. You don't need your own. Although, it's more fun to carry. This doesn't chill. Feel better. But yeah, it's I need to get my concealed carry because I want to carry stuff again. I just haven't felt the need to, but it's just nice to have. And mine it expired a while ago.
In Arizona, you can carry without a concealed carry.
Yeah, you can open
carry. No.
Oh, you can conceal carry without the permit. Oh, you've got.
Yeah, you can. We have a 99 gun freedom rating in Arizona. We have for quite a while. Actually, I know like a lot of other places, like they were like, oh, Vermont or like Tennessee, they passed a law that lets you concealed carry without a permit, and I was like, you mean that thing Arizona
they've already had? Yeah.
Nice. Like Texas did it, and I was
like way ahead of you. No, see, that's way I want that, like so we can open carry, so it's I can always have it showing. I can hold whatever guns I want, just as long as people know that they're there. But you can't, like, if your shirt covers over it or something, though, then you might be in trouble. But I also don't know how big of it, like, especially like with rifles or anything though too. Like I feel like they don't like everyone has like, and they probably aren't like safe as far as them being unloaded. Like, oh, it's in the back of the truck or like in just the back seat or whatever. I'm sure we have a lot of rednecks around here. As much as we want to like say like stereotypes, they definitely still exist in this area too. Like, but they're not all like, or they're not all like terrible people. Like, yeah, they're still going to be kind of hicks and things, but they're not bad people. But that's just the type of people.
This is like within my reach at my desk at all times.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's very big too. I think it's bigger than my head, honestly.
I don't think I have any instruments. Yeah, my guns are, I think, mostly in the bedroom right now.
Yeah, as someone said, the buybacks are from those who never bought it in the first place.
Yeah.
Wait, how's it back? Like, they didn't sell it to you.
Yeah, you didn't own it beforehand. Jeez, that's true. Yeah, constitutional carry, that's what we're wanting around here. So tree surgeon still needs to get an AR before they get banned. Yes, you get a kit. That's what I got for my birthday last year and build it, and that was fun.
Alex Voorhees. It is almost as big as a machete. It's pretty big.
I remember machetes in high school. I think my dad came to pick me up but then I was saying like, oh, my friend and I are hanging out, we got like this sub, we bought it from whatever key club or something like that too, so we got this big sub, we want to share it, we're gonna walk to the library and just eat this sub, but we needed it to cut it, and my dad's like, here, I have this machete. So we just cut the sub in his car outside the high school with the machete, and then we walked to the library to eat it.
I mean, the one nice thing about always having like knives around of some kind is that it's like, well, oh, something's we're missing. This thing is sealed. How do I get it open? Well, I've got a
Yeah, we
knife.
just
Like
use,
there's like 5 knives within hand, handy reach. Cut it open. It's a
yeah.
tool.
And everyone around here might have a gun or have a knife too, though. So it's just like, anyone have a pocket knife? Like everyone does, except for
Yeah.
me. I
You,
just don't.
it's not. I feel like you shouldn't be saying, "Does anyone have a pocket knife?" You just say, "Hey, can I borrow your pocket knife?"
It's just like everyone has a truck. Well, we need to get a truck too, though. But there's the like, what is it? A redneck thing. I'm just like, oh, I need to borrow Joe's truck here, and like, oh, like I lent my truck to Joe, like, but I can borrow one from Tom, and like, and Tom's borrowing it from because like everyone's just like, oh yeah, we all have trucks. G-Man or Awesome One says, I think asking if I have met my $1,000 sales of chicken for me to shave my head. That is never going to happen. Shaving, maybe I might cut it someday, but I haven't in 15, 16 years. So
Holy
gonna
crap!
keep that going. Johnny Boy Quickjaw, thank you for the super chat. Says a small token of gratitude for my favorite token minority. Beverly, you need a black woman on the show. Then you'll have a diverse Charlie's Angels. Oh, okay. Huh. I don't think I know any black women. Actually, my boyfriend's sister is half black, so so does that count if she's half? I'm only half minority too, so we need to get in a couple other halvesies and to add up to one person. All right, Alex, before you use it like that, is it legal to wear crossing ammo belts? Asks Zato. Crossing ammo. What I really want I was talking about that my boyfriend wants like a thigh holster for like when he gets a handgun. Then I'm like, I want one, but like a cool, like a spy kind of like one that can go under like a dress. So like one that's
There's some brand of holsters designed for women for women's clothing. Like their one is like a waist thing.
Yeah, I had one, but it never fit. It was too small, and I also didn't like it because when you wear it, it just depends on like the pants and stuff that you have too, of like where it can fit in there, and it's just like outside the thigh just seems like way better than there's a place to like hold instead of like putting it in, depending on your pants situation. But generally it would be nice. It might fit now, but it didn't before. I don't know where it is either. But yeah, like other times I've just like kept it in a purse, just like loosely. Like my 9mm just hanging and like reaching in, like, oh, I need some lip balm here. Like, oh, that's just my gun.
That's not my lip balm.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Geese are all worked up. Yeah, okay. Well, I think we covered all the topics, and I just want to double check if there's anything chat needs us to read. G-Man, I don't know what he's talking about. He says, I always have to dip my finger in to tell when it's ready. I have no context for what that means. But
we were talking a lot about the coffee.
I thought so, but I really like that this could be anything that I'll dip my finger in to tell when it's ready. Yeah. Well, I think I'm all talked out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I have to say, but I think I'm good.
Oh yeah, I'll bring up the
the game thing. Yeah. Okay.
The game thing. So TennoCon. So since the lockdowns happened, Digital Extremes has started doing they would do their TennoCon on live stream instead of in person in Canada. So I was involved last year. I did a reaction video to the TennoCon, and that's my most watched video. It has more than 7,000 views, I think. Nice. So, and it's coming up again in July, and I'm very excited. Warframe is my favorite video game. So last Thursday, the TennoCon digital / merch pack came out that day, and I got it immediately. I didn't even wait. I'm like, yep, I like this t-shirt this year. And it's so funny too, because so often there is a premium currency in Warframe. It's called Plat for short. Platinum is the long name. And every time people make fun of me because I have thousands and thousands of plat just because I keep getting like deals from digital streams that I then take advantage of, I guess. But then I don't spend my plat. So, but it's a free to play game. So, you know, I'm giving them a tip for creating content that I really like, honestly, at this point. And like, I'm really excited that TennoCon is next month. You know, I sometimes DE is a little bit woke sometimes. Like, there's some stuff in there, but like the gameplay is still fun. Most of the like the actual quests are not woke at all. I really, really like this game. So yeah, I'm really excited that in 3 weeks is TennoCon, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be, you know, there for it. No, you can't have plat. You can't trade plat. If you go in game and you have something, you have tradable content, I can give you plat for that tradable content, which is what I mostly use it for. That and cosmetics, but yeah, like it's so funny because there's so many times where there's a cosmetic that I'm like, I really like this cosmetic, but it's worth like 100 plat. I don't know. And everyone's like, yeah, Alex, you have like 6,000 plat.
Super frugal and
yeah, I'm like super frugal with it. And they're like, just do it. I did actually buy something on live stream when I did New War back in February for plat, and they were like shocked. They were like, that's the first time I've seen you spend plat.
Well, I like that when you're bringing up video games, because that's something I feel kind of bad for. Like, oh, the things that I keep seeing are going to be like movies or TV shows, but I do want to be able to talk about like games and you know, video games, board games.
Well, I know right now a lot of people are mad at Bungie that that's the company behind Destiny 2 because they've completely ruined any kind of in-air accuracy. So like and there's a lot of like crazy jumps that you can do as a guardian in Destiny 2, and they've completely nerfed any accuracy you have. So you're basically gonna miss all your shots if you're in the air. And it's like, okay, maybe not that. Don't nerf it that much. How about some middle ground here, please?
One next to the other, like there's some middle, yeah.
Yeah, like it used to be like, oh, your accuracy was insane, and they're like really high, you know, highly skilled players always shoot from in air, and it's like, do you think really highly skilled players are less accurate on the ground? Because they're not. Like, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, right?
Like, they're just really good at the game, okay?
I don't know. Maybe there's always a chance.
Oh god, if you would get Bungie's like news section on the website, oh god, they're like, we stand with BLM. We, you know, like they're like every other major big company that has to say
do all
these
the
things.
Pride stuff and
yeah, they do the Pride stuff. They do all of that. Like I don't think you can play like a major MMO like Warframe or Destiny 2 without the company being woke, because they have to be that big. Like big companies are woke. Like it's kind of inescapable at this point.
Yeah, right. You get kind of forced for it, but yeah, and that was in response to G-Man saying Bungie was also pretty politically vocal on Twitter recently. Sato, I said, I'm the same with currency. I don't want to use it because I may need it later. Me too. I'm so frugal. Like I hate spending money, and then but it's nice to have it when I need to. Like how I'm trying to take these ducks to the vet again, to the avian one, to a different one to get a better prognosis.
Yeah, Awesome One brings up the problem with raids in Destiny 2. See, one of the problems with raids take 6 players. You have to know 6 people?
Oh my gosh, I don't know 6 people in real life.
Is it me either? I'm like, and what are the chances of them all playing Destiny?
Yeah.
Like, come on. And being good enough and wanting to do the raid, like, and then you all have to like build together for your characters so you have all your bases covered. I'm like, this is too much. This is way too much. I don't know. I think they're being kind of like, and they've been like this for a while with the raids. Wait, what?
It's feeding time, and my cats are getting antsy too.
past her feeding time, actually. But yeah, like they just need to do that. And yes, I hate how Destiny has 20 forms of currency as well. Also, their main form of currency, Glimmer, you have a cap of 250,000. And I'm like, 250,000, that's like nothing. And then, especially if you compare it to Warframe, because Warframe has a credits currency as well as the premium currency. And the credits currency, I literally saw someone that had so many credits that they had to use a scientific number, you know, that times 10 to the whatever power to show how many credits they had. They do not have a limit on how much credits you can have.
And that's funny though. It just kind of reminds me of like in anime when they have like power levels. A lot of them when they're superpowers or whatever, like they, you know, probably like in Dragon Ball started or one of the older ones where it's just it's over 9,000, but then a lot of them too, it's just like, what's your magic level? Like 40,000, like, and some anime get up to like, oh, it's in the millions, and that's just like a regular. Like, why would you want to, like, if everyone is like in the millions, why not just like make it shorten it up somehow so you don't have to put in decimal,
bigger
whatever.
Number better.
No, you don't. Yeah,
it's
it seems unnecessary.
Speaking of video games, I am streaming at 7 o'clock, which is in like 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah. So I actually have to get ready for that. I'm not streaming KOTOR tonight like I normally would be because that game is driving me insane. I'm like literally every week now it's like torture. So tonight I'm actually playing Hunt Showdown for the first time. So we'll see what I think about it.
Okay. I think another thing too, since we're doing like movies and shows, something else, if they're like quick, maybe that like we can do like test games. So if there are ones that are like, hey, here's this new game that we should like review though, and one that I'm limited on systems that I can probably put, but if it's PC or Nintendo, I got that. I don't have like the new PlayStation or Xbox though. But
someone did ask for the link.
For your
for my upcoming live stream.
And so I think that, or I guess anyone watching or listening to this too, if you have suggestions on like, here's games, shows, movies, whatever, comics or something that like you want us to talk about, though, let us know, because I'm definitely I just don't know anything that's going on. So just send me information, post it in the Discord or email or whatever, and
definitely.
Probably best. It's the one I check most. I've stopped doing, so like I said, since you took over Twitter and stuff for the Unsafe Space account though, I barely look at Twitter anymore. Like it was better for me to have to do that, because like, oh, now I'm gonna like look on my own, but now I feel bad because like I have to like remember, let me check this out and retweet and but like I've just been off grid.
I'm terrible. I have a Twitter addiction. When they kicked me off, it was painful.
Oh, I didn't realize how bad it was for you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on it every day. Like it's where gaming streamers hang out, honestly. Like a lot of them. It's where we talk. Like especially the middle ones, like the big guys. They have Twitter to post that what they're streaming or whatever. But like all of the middle level gaming live streamers, we all talk on Twitter.
That makes sense. Well, that's why like I'm so bad, like the whole that's why we have you helping us, because we're so bad at marketing, and it's hard for me to even want to push myself for things too, because that's what Zato says. No, it's better for you without Twitter, Beverly. But because like I usually do one-on-one. Like you message me on Discord, like I respond, like I have conversations with people like Motown and stuff all the time though. So like, but instead of posting on publicly, once I stopped using Facebook as much, that kind of like dwindled on like everything else that I was doing as well. But so Discord is kind of where I try to, even in the community one, and I'm still bad at that.
I'm kind of trying. I'm considering getting rid of my Facebook account, or at least like taking it off my phone and not looking at it really, because it's starting to piss me off. Like it
that
literally
was why I stopped.
Like not just because of what people post on Facebook, but because I got an ad for a keyboard I own.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
that I've never used.
Facebook,
and I was like, that was I've never seen that on YouTube, on Twitter, like never. And that's the thing too, is that this is not the first time. This is like a lot of things. Is that one of the times they showed me, and I didn't buy this keyboard, but like they show me ads for things that I have a verbal conversation with someone, and I'm like, I'm super creeped out. So I'm sort of like, do I really want to be on Facebook ever again? Like, this
But
is
I know
terrifying
YouTube does
me.
it too. Like I've heard that, like when just talking about like car rentals when we're in the car and watching a YouTube video, and it came up with like a car rental commercial or something too. I'm like, yeah, our phones and stuff are definitely listening to us. And yeah, my thing with Facebook was when the white girl who was telling me, who didn't really know me, but was saying that I didn't like people of color, and I was just like, well, I'm done with this platform. And so I stopped using it for 3 months. And then when I got back on to it, it was just mostly to like, I post photos on Instagram and go to Facebook. So that now I just check if I have like comments or something on there, but I just don't look at anyone else's things ever. And it's just in case. But then also like, it's not even the people that are like woke, but it's just kind of like the people that I know, I guess, in real life, where they're sweet. But like, I was trying to figure out like names for like the ducks and stuff, and I was like, oh, we have Dick Van Duck, so I want like another and I said comedian pun name, and then I just got a lot of like suggestions. None of them were comedians, and not that they weren't all puns either, and it was just like, I don't even get. So it's just, why am I asking for input from here? But
yeah, like I was getting annoyed already with Facebook because someone, a libertarian supposedly, was saying essentially like that, was doing that thing where like you can't have an opinion unless you're credentialed, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna. I'm not like, this is stupid. This is very anti-curiosity, anti-agency. I'm not. No.
It's like not being able to talk about what a woman is if you're not a woman, but anyone can identify as a woman. So then you could be a woman and talk about it if you want, if you're saying that you're a woman, because a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, because a woman is a woman. And a woman is not a man. And what do you think a woman is? Which did we ever say to you what the poll ended up being? I saw it, but now
the poll has it as
second place. I think it was not a man, and I think first place was a woman. I think
was a woman,
if I recall, because I think second place had 33%, and I think a woman had 40 something.
Yeah, so a woman has 44%, not a man 33%. What do you think a woman is? 19%. A person identifying as a woman, 1%.
Yeah. So it's only 1%. I don't know what. See, there's just certain things, and sometimes it's numbers where I'm like, oh yeah, like I read that thing once, and now I remember that. But names and like watching the documentary earlier, like, oh, I've forgotten a lot of stuff, so that's why I had to do notes. But like, I can remember percent, and I remember your birthday is August 1st, and.
Yeah, which I'm probably gonna do a Shadow Warrior live stream for my birthday, because it's one of my. I love that game, and I have not gotten a chance to play it in a long time. So that's probably what I'm gonna play for my birthday.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I want to do initially when this was going to be, it was on Friday, and that was the day before my birthday. But now I think I'll still do like a birthday bash stream on the Thursday before my birthday. I like invite other people on. Maybe invite the community too. I don't know, like whoever wants to be on. We can have 10 people at most, I think, on the stream.
Yeah.
Tree Surgeon says all his friends are leftists, so it's better to stay off social media. Yeah, that's a big thing too for me. Why I think that's why I like Twitter, because it's more like online friends who are unwoke has been nice, like that kind of thing, or people who I don't know, so you can get into arguments with, so it's less awkward. But Facebook, it's like I know all of you, and I don't want to have to like argue about stuff, like you're gonna be obnoxious and stuff. And all that. So. Tenomad says a woman is not a cat too. Good point. Good point.
True.
That child in that school who thinks it's a cat. You got to tell them
what gender that person is, but we know they're not a cat.
Yeah. And so once again, a woman is an adult female human. For anyone, YouTube is probably going to censor this stream now. They're stating such offensive, extreme statements like this, but we'll see. Okay, well, I'll let you get to your stream. or prepare for your next one. We have cats to feed. I've got new animals apparently now that I need to go take care of. So thank you all for watching. Again, Sunday book club. Wow, my brain broke for a second there. House of Leaves, Mark Z. Danielewski, noon Eastern, hosted by Alex. I will keep trying to read that. Johnny Boy says, Beverly, that's just your truth. Yeah, it is only my truth. Bye, awesome one. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you have any suggestions or anything, please let us know. Oh, I think we're going to try and watch the new Jurassic World within the next week too. So I might want to talk about that.
Watch the second one.
Wait, I thought this is the second one.
This is the third one.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've seen the second one either.
Fallen Kingdom, then Dominion.
I didn't know that there was. Oh, so I think we're watching it tomorrow. I'm gonna need to watch this other movie before we go tomorrow night. Huh, I didn't realize that. Okay, well, I've got more things to do now.
Also, if you want to be part of book club,
Oh yeah, email. Yeah, come join. Even if you haven't finished it, because I haven't either. So
no, I think me and Caleb are the only people who are gonna.
So you can lead the way. Speak at unsafespace.com or Discord or Beverly at Unsafe Space. Yeah, let us know. And again, Sunday, noon Eastern. Anything else, Alex? We've got no free association.
Now narrative dissonance on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, and Sunday is Juneteenth and Father's Day, I think.
Yeah. And then Tuesday there's a 451 degrees pre-recorded. And then
Yes.
I was like, that's as far as I know.
There is this at 451 degrees, and I still need to edit that. So yeah, that's gonna happen on Tuesday for sure. I just need I've got some work.
I told you I had stuff that I stuttered quite as much as I did during that interview. Just fair warning, everyone. It was really early in the morning.
It was, yeah. So I don't know how, because some of it I'm like, oh, does this need edited out? Other, I don't know. Just leave it in there to mess with you. Oh, I was also thinking how I might just greet you from now on and say, like, sup, motherfucker, or whatever it was.
Because I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be totally fine with that.
I was going to start the stream with saying, what up, cunts? But then I was like, is that too aggressive? I won't call everyone that right now, but I'm going to talk about wanting to call people that, but I'm not actually calling anyone that, though. I'm just referencing that I thought about it.
Oh, God. Oh, that's hilarious.
Maybe next week. Maybe next time. Maybe that's just going to be my new catchphrase.
Okay.
Starting it and see how long we can take until I get banned. Osman says he shaved, assuming the quartering. Sancho says inside voice Beverly. Johnny Boy Quick Trust says, oh, I love that as your intro. Okay, if Johnny Boy loves it, he's here every show. So my new intro is just going to be what up, cunts. It's fun to say, but all right. Well, thank you everyone again. I need to find the end credits. And thank you, Alex, as always. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
I didn't mean for that to sound so creepy. I did pause and say that really slowly, and so, but I was just looking for the end credits and couldn't talk and search at the same time. But I'll say it intentionally now. Thank you, Alex. It's always a pleasure. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production does not meet WHO health and safety standards. Please report to a United Nations Sanitization Center immediately. Association with the following individuals is strictly prohibited. Experts who benefit from printing money agree that printing money does not cause price inflation. Trust me, just 2 more weeks to slow the spread of monkeypox. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.